cars. Start your engines!
Ready. Green flag. All rolling. All the way out. Stay in. Come on. Bye-bye, front end. See you later. These guys are really good. Keep digging. Stay in the gas. Hang on, dude, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why you wait so long, man? Bottom clear, shaking you down here. White flag. Hit your mark.
Welcome, everybody. There's some breaking news that came out today, and we will definitely talk about that. I should probably unmute the rest of you. Hello, all.
It's okay. We don't have anything to say.
Howdy.
Yeah, that's it.
Been a slow week as usual in NASCAR.
It really has. I want to welcome on in everyone. And by the way, already over, at least on my end, over 400 of you guys coming on in. So welcome, everybody. Like Golden Knight. 500. You guys are on it. Everyone is on it tonight. Of course, you have me in the corner here, hosting on this channel. Of course, you're here. You probably know who I am. Over that way is Danny B. To the corner there, down there is, not there. There is, well, I point in the general direction. That's Eric. And then underneath me here, we got Jonathan Remus.
Responsible young man.
Yeah, the responsible man who dressed up better than all of us on our own show.
I always have to bring a little polo. It's the least I can do.
Yeah. Well, I did my best impersonation, and by the way, thank you for that big super chat. We will read that at the at the super chat stage break at the top of the hour. But you know, we don't get to do this very often, and it made me excited that the news broke today. Because I can actually use the breaking news red ticker.
Oh,
red. That just happened, chat.
A color change.
We got the red ticker tonight, at least for the top of the show.
Wonderful.
You know, usually we'll make jokes and beat around the bush and be like, oh, you know, we'll talk about everyone but the winner. I think we just need to jump on into the finish. Well, I think we can start with Sunday night itself going in. We talked about it before. That if you just run this race to regulation, like the first 400 laps of this race, that was probably from start to finish the best race Austin Dillon has ever run in his career. Like racecraft, strategy, everything. Calm, cool, collected, everything.
And he was the car to beat. That is for sure until that caution come out.
The three ran where the three should. And that's the crazy part to me. Now, I want to start with our guest here. John, I want you sort of, before we get to the finish, I know as an Eric Almirola fan, you might bring up some bad memories, but I want you to sort of, let's talk about Austin Dillon going into that finish before we get completely into the wide open finish of it.
So I saw him running up front, and the first thing that came into mind was just always just one race a year that Austin Dillon just shines for. And then the other 35 races, he's kind of just there. Halfway through the race, I kind of saw the rumblings. I'm like, okay, he may actually have something. And then with about, I think it was 35, 40 laps to go, I think it was Denny Hamlin leading. And I had the TV on mute because I was doing a bunch of other things for work. And I was like, you know what? Denny Hamlin's ahead. I think he's got the strategy call. I'm going to go fish, and I'm going to have MRN on my phone. I get out to the dock. And all of a sudden, I hear lead change, Austin Dillon. And then I was kind of just stunned. It was like, Austin Dillon? Are you serious? Is this going to be the guy that breaks up the playoffs? And then obviously the caution comes out and things got wild. And the finish, you guys got to see the finish. I got to hear the finish on MRN. They were losing it. I'm there, Cass and Tug, and Mike Bagley. All of them were going nuts, Alex Hayden. I just could not believe what I heard and then what I saw on my phone. This is a crazy situation. I'm not shocked that Austin Dillon was going to go for it. We saw what happened in the 2018 Daytona 500. We saw what even happened at Coke Zero in 2022. We know he is the driver that if he is going to have an opportunity to get to you, he will use the muscle. I think he also in the Nationwide Series got called out for it a little bit by veterans in the Cup Series. I think Denny Hamlin, if you go way back, you have to go through the files. But obviously,
for sure had issues with him.
Oh yeah, there was.
That's part of the reason I'm leaving RCR.
I think there was someone at Texas that went ahead and bumped him into the wall. Maybe that was his brother to the inside. And that's when I got to learn more about Austin Dillon, but obviously uncalled for. You don't take one guy out and then swipe down to go for the other guy. I know Richard Childress is clearly going to go all out and trying to get the playoff waiver or whatever he wants, but that erupted X like I've never seen it, or I haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah, it was nuts. You mentioned that MRN was going crazy. It was the exact opposite on NBC or USA Network, I guess. The broadcast booth was dead silent for probably a good 30 to 40 seconds minimum. Absolutely nothing. And it was great drama, great TV. You heard the crowd, the reactions, but more than anything, I think they just didn't know what to say. Like,
well, the big thing was Rick Allen did a great job of calling it. And I think I mentioned that on Twitter. In the midst of chaos, Rick Allen is hitting every point from what you're seeing on TV versus what he's seeing on the monitor, calling the race. But I was kind of in shock at the same time because at least for MRN, they called Joey Logano to 3 and 4. They called Dillon getting into him. Then they called Denny Hamlin taking the lead. And then all of a sudden it's Denny Hamlin wrecking. I'm trying to paint the picture in my head of what just transpired. But Richmond has not had an event in a long time since Spingate that has blown everything up. Yes, every time at Richmond, it seems like at the end of these races, something has to go right, wrong, including in the night races. But man, this is insane. I wasn't on Twitter for Spingate, but if it was something like this, I would not be shocked.
The biggest problem that I have with all of this is I can't remember if it was Joey or Denny said this in one of the post-race interviews on TV or one of the ones afterwards with the media. But one of them said something about if the younger drivers see this, I think that's okay. And, talk about him being young. The thing is, Austin Dillon is not young. Someone said in the chat, he's like pushing 35 years old. Think about it like this. This is Austin Dillon's. He's in the middle of his 11th season in the Cup Series. He's been in the Cup Series since 2014. At this point, I could understand if we saw Hocevar or Ty Gibbs trying to win their first race and they get a little desperate and try something like this. But when you're in your 11th season, this is your 5th Cup Series win, there shouldn't be an excuse to drive like that much of an a-hole.
Well, it's the thing is the car doesn't punish drivers for making over aggressive moves right now. Like you can hit someone in the back as hard as you want and it's not going to damage your car or their car. The format doesn't punish you for driving in over your head. In fact, it encourages it. It encourages desperate moves like this one. So I don't think it's an age thing. I listened to David Hoots on the Money Lap podcast, and he sort of brought up also, simulation and stuff. I don't even think that necessarily has anything to do with it. I just think there are a number of factors, the format, the car. NASCAR has created a playground that encourages this kind of driving. So it was up to them to finally begin to enforce their own rule book and say, hey, enough is enough. This was too far. So when we talk about the penalty, you kind of know where I stand on it. Like I do think action was required. I hate that this all overshadows what you guys said. This was what Jared said. This was like the best 400 laps of Austin Dillon's career up until that overtime restart when he messed up the restart. And then, of course, the incident with Logano and Hamlin. Like he ran such a good race. I mean, there's at least, if there's any positive now to take from this weekend from RCR, besides the fact that they've got the trophy, the, tainted trophy now sitting in their trophy case, is that they showed winning speed for the first time all year. And it wasn't Kyle Busch, a future Hall of Famer, dragging them to the front of the pack. It was Austin Dillon taking a first place car and racing for the win with it. So there is something to be excited about if you're RCR, even though the ultimate result now obviously is tarnished.
So we'll pivot to the finish here. This might be a hot take because I've seen others disagree with me and whatnot, but honestly, I think it was borderline, but I don't think the Logano part, what he did to Joey Logano, was as egregious as a lot of people might say. I mean, we saw Logano do it. People got upset at him for doing that. Ty Gibbs did it to his teammate a couple years back in Xfinity. People were upset, but that's a move I've seen before. And this before playoff era, before all that. Not saying that, it's right or wrong, but I think it's one that you can actually debate that one. That it's sort of a bump and run kind of deal gone wrong. He did not care if he made it through the corner. He pretty much admitted it too. Like he was like, I did what I had to do. It's like, so you admit you did it. Like,
Yeah.
like that was your admission right there. For me, it was strictly the Denny Hamlin part added on to, making a questionable move to begin with. The Denny Hamlin part for me is where I watch it and I just went, are you effing serious? Like that you can't give him the win after that.
I think it's both. I do think the Logano one was more egregious than any other similar move I've seen in recent years. He was 3-4 car lengths back, drove in with no interest in making the corner. He drove in solely with the intention of hitting Logano so hard that he wrecked. Like that was it. There's no other way to judge what he did there. So I think that one alone was borderline. Yes, the Hamlin turning him into the wall on top of that, I think, is what put it over the edge. That's ultimately what got his spotter in the most trouble. So it's both. I think if only one of those two happens, there's a very good chance we're not having this conversation. There's a very good chance the win stands. He gets all the playoff points, everything. I think both happening back to back made this look even worse and really forced NASCAR to act.
Well, I'll pose this question to you guys. Penalty. Like, completely agree with it? Should it be harsher or should it be more lax?
I think this was the perfect call on this. Let the team keep the win because I hate to hurt the guys on the pit crew that enjoyed that win. That want to keep that win and for their sake, but take away the playoff eligibility. That was the right call. I think ultimately the points penalty as well. You shouldn't benefit from having that win in some capacity, off of this move either. So I think that was the right call by NASCAR. I think it was the right call to suspend the spotter for, I think, 3 weeks because they were inciting him to do this.
Yeah.
So I think that was all the right call. And we'll get into the Logano stuff a little bit more later. But no, I'm completely in agreement with NASCAR. I saw some people saying that maybe Dillon should be suspended for a race because we've seen that precedent before from, I think, when Chase Elliott right hook somebody, and I think also Bubba Wallace as well did that. So people could draw comparisons to that, but at the same time, I think I'm still agreeing that NASCAR got it right here.
I'm going to be honest, they 100% got it right, not just because of the people on pit road, but for the fans in the stands. The worst thing you can do is go home, go to bed, go to work, go to bed again the next day, and then you find out in a lunch break that the race that you attended on Sunday, that guy that won celebrated, and whether you agreed or disagreed with what happened, ended up not being the winner. So everyone's talking about NASCAR's integrity and what they have to do, and they have to suspend him, they have to take the win away. You lose the integrity of the fans that went to Richmond. And let's be honest, Richmond's fan base is in trouble. The grandstands at the start of the race did not look good. It got a lot better. I'll give it that. Definitely. Before the start, like around the start of the race, should I say, it got pretty full front stretch. You still saw aluminum seats down into 3 and 4. But this was a finish that at least is giving Richmond Raceway marketability of still being this wild track that it was, at least at one point in the early 2000s, into the early 2010s, that it still has a little bit of its aura.
Since then, you just think about the 08 races, honestly.
Yeah, but the big thing about Austin Dillon is when Joey Logano made the move on Martin Truex Jr., he wasn't, what was it, like half a football field back to go after him. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating, 25 yards, 3-4 car lanes back. He was there. You look at Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott. Denny was close enough to make the bump, and then you can make the argument if it was clean or not. I don't think there's ever been a driver that has just sent it on in. And for Joey Logano, I think he's rightfully mad because this isn't a young driver. Austin Dillon, I think, is a month older than Joey Logano. They're basically the same age. So for him to make that move, it's crazy. But I like the fact that they did not take the win away. Fine him, take the playoff eligibility away. The second you take a win away, then you're really going to uncharted waters. The same problem that we have with the super speedways with if you go below the yellow line, what's considered going below, and the person that crosses the line first after X amount of laps, not considered the winner because of this yellow line on the racetrack. NASCAR would fall in the same issue with that.
Yeah, because if we start taking wins away, we need to go through the history books and start taking wins away. Earnhardt's win at Bristol was 98, 99 when he spun out Labonte. Like, we got to take that one away if we take this one away.
No, you don't. You just have to set a new precedent. You just have to establish a new set of rules, preferably before the start of a new season. So when you ask Jared if I agree with this penalty decision, I would say 90% yes. Overall, I think action needed to be taken. This does set some sort of a new precedent. I don't love setting effectively a new precedent mid-season. You know what I mean? Like, I think going into this race, nobody was going to like what Austin Dillon did, but if somebody did that to win a race, I'm not sure people would have been assuming. I don't think there was any reason to assume NASCAR was going to revoke the playoff eligibility. I'm a little surprised they did. I think most fans are at least a little surprised they did, because there has been no recent precedent for it. So I don't love establishing a new precedent mid-season. And then my only other thing, and John sort of swayed me the other way on this, or he changed my opinion slightly. I was going to say that there's an argument to be made they should have taken the win away entirely. I still think maybe in the future, like start of 2025, NASCAR sets a new precedent that, hey, we do have the right to remove the win entirely, not just encumber it. But I think that decision, this is to John's point, needs to be made in the moment at the track. You can't wait till Tuesday, Wednesday to make that call. That has to be called in the first 20, 30 minutes after the checkered flag. If you don't call it then the worst you can do to somebody is encumber their win. I think that's the way to do it going forward.
So I think that's where I was going to go with it. Like with the way the rules are now, yes, I like everything they did. They stuck within their rules. I think setting a new precedent, I understand not wanting to do it in the middle of the season, but NASCAR has a precedent of setting a new precedent in the middle of a season, like green light checkers
and changing the rules.
You know, Jeff
New
Gordon
tire compounds,
stuff like that. So I'm not as upset with that part, but I do think that in 25, if you are going to set something new like that, you need to do it. I think 20, 30 minutes is too long. I think you do it within 5 to 10. Like the broadcast could end in the next 5-10 minutes. Most people tune out. I mean, John, you and I have seen it with iRacing, and it's pretty similar with in real life racing here, where half the audience leaves within 5 minutes. Like they're like, cool, that's all I need to see. Click. All right, SpongeBob's on. I don't know. That's the only way that I could be with taking wins away. I just think what NASCAR has kind of done and where we're at right now is they need to step in and be the adults. And this has been a plot line I've been sort of championing for the last year or two. Like NASCAR needs to be the adults here. They need to stop the drivers from themselves. I think that this is a precedent that will stop them if they stick with it. I think the difficult part for a lot of fans, and I get why a lot of fans might not be crazy about it, is now you have added another ball and strike call in, which I don't like, but I think in this instance and in a lot of them that might be like it probably is necessary, because
that's how I feel.
I just, you guys know I have my disagreements with how we do a lot of the championship playoff stuff like that. But if there's something that I would want with this is I would want to make sure that we don't see flukiness for the sake of flukiness, for craziness, for, say for some god reason Austin Dillon makes it through the first round. If he made it in, they didn't take the playoff eligibility, he wins at Talladega. The last thing I want to see is Austin Dillon dive bomb and do the same damn move because somehow points wise he's in position to make the Final Four when he shouldn't be, or you name anyone. I saw a lot of people compare it to the Hail Melon. I think that's different because Ross Chastain did not take anyone out in doing that. Like he put himself in danger.
He took someone out of the playoffs.
Yeah, he took Denny. It's always Denny. It just always goes back to Denny.
He damaged his race car. Might have did some damage to Keselowski, but that was about it.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of people comparing it to Earnhardt 99, and to a good degree, I understand why people came to that conclusion. I don't like anyone. I mean, I'm sorry. The same people that were calling him Silver Spoon the lap before are now saying he's the next Dale Earnhardt. I'm sorry. Everyone said Dale Earnhardt would not be 32nd in points. Dale Earnhardt would not be only competing for one win a year. Like Dale Earnhardt was one of the greatest drivers ever, but Dale Earnhardt also was not perfect. So people being like, well, Dale did it in 86. That was 38 years ago. 38 years ago at Richmond.
And also, a few of those incidents, Dale was penalized. Sometimes it was just a fine, but like NASCAR used to control these guys, used to officiate more of these incidents. We mentioned Ricky Rudd 20-something years ago had a win taken away due to aggressive driving. But that was like the last time it happened. That was my point, is that there's no recent precedent for them doing this, and the current car matched with the current format makes this necessary. Like if this was still 2013, I don't think guys would drive like this because both the cars and at that point the format wouldn't call for it. But now that both of those things do, NASCAR has to step in, whether they want to or not.
Hearing you say that, Eric, you talk about the format. That's something I've been thinking of. Think about something that's different this year as compared to previous years that I feel like NASCAR may implement back. Before this race, Austin was what, 32nd in points?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they just recently got rid of a thing that said you have to be in the top 30 just to be able to get your automatic eligibility. Had that been in place, he's not eligible even if he wins. Does he get that aggressive?
He did move into 26th on full season format, so like he still would have been in the top 30, but he could have fallen out. Yeah. Like I think he would have been that aggressive, but
he probably still does.
And I know this goes against my old head return to 2003 format stuff that I know this goes against my argument for that, but at this point we've done a knockout playoff style for 10 years or more than 10 years probably. This is year 11. This is year 11. NASCAR has repeatedly went for wins need to mean more, do more for wins, do that for 20 something years now, since 2003 to 4. To me, the cat's out of the bag. I mean, we see at the low levels. We see at the lower level tracks, at short tracks, like we see video of younger drivers doing these dumb things. Like it's kind of like when you see rule changes in the NFL and people are like, we need to change it back, like roughing the passer. Like they're instituting this stuff in college, high school, Pee Wee, you name it. Like this is how it is now. Like I don't think as much as I blame a lot of what NASCAR's done in a format in part for this, I don't think that even if you go back to a full season, I still think people do this because they can still get a win. They can still get that extra money. They can still, you name it. Maybe not as much, but I feel like at this point, the cat's out of the bag with it.
Yeah. I just feel like sorry, go ahead, John.
I want to point something out with what Jarrett was talking about. You mentioned the short track scene. The short track scene has something in place for what happened. Now, I think it was last year when Gavin Bouchel got in a car store race. I think it was Tri-County. They took his win away right away.
Yep.
Right off the gun. They said, nope, we've seen this before. And it was when the fans were still in the stands. They may have been filing out, but it was enough time for whoever was over the PA to say, there's an update, new winner, second place. The person that wrecked for the win goes to the back. And NASCAR can very much implement this. The problem is they take so long to implement situations because it's, but did he actually do it?
Now we don't know.
Though. But in the short track scene and even in the FIA, they go off visuals. You can bash the FIA all you want for their 5-second time penalties for barely making contact. They don't wait 2 or 3 days to make a decision. Either you like the decision or you don't like the decision right on the broadcast. So this is something they very much can go ahead and implement. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think Austin Dillon still makes the decision to go and wreck Joey Logano if this was a consistent playoff format, consistent points format or the chase format, mainly because RCR has been in such a downturn this year. That team needed some type of win for morale. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out there and sends it. Let's say we're still in the next gen. We're still at the single lug. We still have the overtime attempt. I still say Austin Dillon swings for the fence and says, screw it. Something is going to hit something and someone's going to win, but it's not going to be the 22.
So the closest thing that's really reminding me of this situation, and it's not the same, but it's probably the closest we get seen up to this point. Martinsville 2020, when, and mainly this is referring to Dillon spotter yelling, wreck him, and Harvick spotter yells, go get him. And then he spins out, was it Kyle Busch? He spun out, kind of in an attempt to do something there. That's, I think the only way they got away with that and not getting any kind of penalties was that he wasn't saying wreck him. That's
also in the middle of the playoffs. Like Kevin Harvick wasn't sitting 32nd, just going in there for it. He was a true contender, and that's the argument that goes to Jarrett's side. If it's a consistent playoff format, Harvick doesn't lunge in that deep. He just goes on to the next weekend, and he gets crowned champion in Phoenix that year.
Yeah, I just think we've seen enough, even going back to 2014, the first year sort of this format. It was a little different back then. You had Ryan Newman absolutely ship Kyle Larson on the last lap at Phoenix for a championship 4 spot. Ironically, was it 2014 or 15? I guess it was 2015. You had Kevin Harvick intentionally wreck half the field at Talladega to save a playoff spot. Like almost immediately, these kinds of things started to happen more frequently. I guess, yeah, 2013, you had Spingate. But that was, again, we still had a chase, not quite the same playoff format. But it's, you put these drivers in desperate situations, you need to take more ownership of the officiating. And I think that's what NASCAR was doing here. But, yeah.
And one thing, so I put a poll up, asking what people thought of Dillon's actions at the end of the race, fair or foul. 68% say foul, 32%. So about a third say fair, 2/3 say foul.
It's complicated because I think originally I would almost argue it could be considered fair considering what's at stake, but grand scheme, big picture racing, it's not a fair move.
But I think that's something else that I don't think NASCAR was looking at this poll at this particular time or anything. But I think that, I noticed a lot more people. Now, granted, it's Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano. Like, if this is just, you don't even have to name the 2 popular Hendrick guys or 3 whoever. Like, if this is Ross Chastain and Ricky Stenhouse, I think we see a few more people mad about this than if it's Denny or Joey who have made questionable and aggressive moves. But I think something else is that, like, NASCAR has to get ahead of it, because if you start cultivating a fan base that is cool with basically Bowman graying it, then you are looking at, I think, the real problem with integrity. And people have questioned NASCAR's integrity for decades upon decades. This is not a playoff chase conversation. I mean, this is something that's been, back. You go back to the 80s, 70s, you name it. There are controversies where people question. But that's something that I think. I don't like using public perception as an argument or as a reason to
and I hope they wouldn't. I don't know that they did, but for sure
I've waited an awful long time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of. I think it's a lot of moving parts. They've never made a call like this before, and not in the playoff era at least. So I'll give them that benefit of the doubt. But no, you're right. Fans, at least on social media, and social media is not always real life. I think there's a difference in opinion between people who are at the racetrack and people who watched on TV. I think at the racetrack, you're more inclined to love it because you want to see some sort of craziness in action when you're there and cars are in front of you. Whereas when you're on TV, you're removed from it. You see the bigger picture. Typically, you don't want to see as much. Yeah, I saw a disparity based on where people were watching the race from. But for sure, Dillon wrecking probably the 2 most unpopular drivers in the sport and still didn't get away with it. Yeah, that tells me that, you're not getting away with anything now if you really you go too far.
Well, so going through kind of the rest of the penalty here before we go on to the Joey Logano part of it, because I honestly think what Logano did in the grand scheme of things too, when it comes to like in that moment and also everything else, I think you can argue more egregious. So real quick, so Austin Dillon, course, out of the playoffs, also docked 25 driver owner points. So basically you get the trophy, you get the money, because I believe there was not a monetary fine to it, but you don't get any of the other perks. Spotter suspended 3 races as well. We've had that run on the bottom. RCR is going to appeal. I doubt.
Do you think they win the appeal?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Moving on.
I think they get laughed out of the building, honestly.
I don't know. I think that what'll their argument be? It'll be, hey, look at these examples of aggressive driving that weren't
Can't
penalized.
believe everything you see on the internet, Eric.
Yeah, that's
what it's
okay. That was the funniest part of the night when media members are literally showing you videos and he's still saying you can't believe everything you see on the internet. These influencers.
I'll say this.
AI.
Props to the NASCAR media. I know they get a lot of flack at times.
Shout out to Matt Weaver, especially for showing, like, sitting down with them. And eventually Richard Childress seemed to be like, oh yeah, I guess that is what he said. And then he just said, yeah, I love it. He just doubled down.
And then Matt Weaver goes, yep, that was something.
And you know what? I respect Richard Childress for basically just owning it and being like, you know what, screw it, I like it. Like,
I guess that is what he said. Like, hell yeah.
He's not like a lot of those drivers when they wreck someone, they're like, I don't know what happened out there. It's like bullshit. Yeah, you do. But props to Matt Weaver, props to the members of the media who went out there, asked the hard question, presented the actual evidence out there, and let the rest of the world think for themselves on it. Because I know the media can get a lot of flack from people being like, oh, they just carry water for the teams and sponsors. So I want to say that we're going to criticize people. We also have to credit people as well.
It's a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on from that part, we got the Joey Logano side of it, which is probably the way less compelling part for a lot of fans because they're like, it should have been fine more.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, in my comment section of my video yesterday, some of y'all have me scared to ever go walk in a city street again because so many people were blaming the civilians for being there. And look, I get it. If I jaywalk across the street and get hit by a car, that's partially my fault. But like, now I'm afraid to accidentally set 1 foot off the sidewalk. You guys are going to be gunning for me the way some of y'all made it sound.
I do want to address that. Like, I know a lot of people are like, they should have their families and all that. To me, there is no reason that there should be toddlers running around and infants on pit road that is hot. I get that the victory lane's across there. I get that you want to go out there. I know some people are like Austin Dillon using his baby as a human shield. I'm like, I really don't think it's like the Stenhouse things.
He did afterward, like during the interview, like that's using your baby as a shield. Who's going to come confront you if you're holding your baby? But on pit road, no, the baby was not there as a shield.
I don't think he radioed being like, Pop, get me my kid. I need to defend
my
myself.
child.
That's probably true.
Yeah, like, and I like, I'm not gonna go like full Brett Griffin and say like Ricky Stenhouse, he caused it. I will say this for all the people that got on me for saying that NASCAR held the flag 10 extra seconds to end the race at the Brickyard with Larson in the lead, but won't go after that. Like, I think that is even crazier. Like Ricky Stenhouse is sitting there like 20, 20th
I think they've
place.
also learned they can't go after Brett Griffin because they'll just get blocked and it won't matter anyways.
Well, then case closed at that point. But I don't like having that many people on pit road. We've all been on pit road for SRX races, local short track races, all three of the top series of NASCAR. It's hectic. And even when you know what you're doing.
Over, people are coming across the wall. It's time for post-race interviews. That's what a lot of those people were. They were media. And then there was a particular group that was out there that was like, I saw Johnny Morris, owner of Bass Pro Shops, his Austin Dillon's wife and kid and family and friends are ready to come out and, celebrate. That's normal. I couldn't understand what the people were so mad about. That's just normal in NASCAR now.
But they're not supposed to be on a hot pit road. That's how it's supposed to be.
But it's cooling down. They're not supposed to come flying in that close like Joey was.
They're still going 30. Like, I'm sorry, go on the local street, stand right next to the road, and we're going 30 miles an hour. It's faster than it looks on TV.
To be fair, I'm not the person to talk to. I stand next to train tracks and film them for YouTube videos now. So,
but what I'm saying though is like, would you have an infant that right there? Right next to a train.
So I think you're both right. Danny's point is that this is no excuse for Joey Logano. What Joey Logano did was borderline suspension worthy. But I think to Jarrett's point is that, yes, going forward, NASCAR needs to enforce those hot pit road rules a little more strictly. Like there shouldn't be family members on pit road so quickly.
What they were doing has been established as normal behavior after a race.
But it shouldn't be going forward. So that's to both of your points. But then, Joey Logano,
he could have killed
aiming at them with his car and revving the engine towards it. Like, that's actually unhinged. Like, I know he's mad and we all say or do things when we're really upset that we regret later. That's top 5 worst things I've probably seen from a Cup Series driver with a race car.
You should have just done what Denny did at Martinsville. Denny, instead of going down pit road and revving it up in front of Alex Bowman's pit, he just went right up in front of him in front of the grandstands.
That was awesome in person.
One thing you have to realize is you ever look at a NASCAR pit road at the end of a race, they have officials all the way down near pit entry for a reason. They stop the cars usually down that way. And even to some points, they have cars leave pit road through the first garage exit stall. I know at Homestead it's like really early, so they don't even get close sometimes to the middle of pit road. I'm not sure how Richmond has it, but for Joey Logano's situation, he went in there like a maniac. I think his idea was to park it in front of Austin Dillon's pit stall and then probably do a donut. Obviously, it's way out of his head. I think no one is wrong in this discussion that we have is this moment because it's going to happen next week. I remember when I was at the Brickyard 400, I couldn't move when I was on the grid. I was stuck between Denny's car, Reddick's car, and all their family members. And then after the race, they all just migrate out there because when a race is done, everything is considered cooling down. It's the cool down lap. The only problem is Joey Logano was not cooling down. He was heating up.
Well, Danny, do you remember Daytona when I think 2020, when we had an issue where we couldn't get Jed on pit road because he was too young?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the cold pass.
Yeah. I'm sorry, if a 17-year-old who is filming at the track and has permission from the track has problems getting in on pit road after a race and before a race, I get maybe even before a race it's okay, but after a race, I can't see an excuse to let like anyone under the age of like 12 on pit road. If you're not gonna let the fans on, why do, because they have a last name, do they get allowed on? And it's just a safety thing. I mean,
Yeah.
That was one toddler running from mom away from being plastered in the front of Joey Logano's car. And I'm not saying that in like comic effect. I'm saying like that is a real possibility that could have happened. I know people think I'm being overboard about it. It's the truth.
So I'm going to propose this question now. If we really want to really enforce this, we would, lose some moments in NASCAR that have been really nice to see, like Harvick's son riding in the car. I think Larson's had a son riding the car.
Is a kid getting run over worth it? Like that's the question. That's the question. Oh, that's a nice feel-good moment, or kid gets hit.
I think there should be a time. I think right after the race, they should not be out there. There should be a few minutes once all the cars are stopped, which doesn't take that long. Then maybe it's allowed, but it's
I'm fine if they're
just
stopped.
Needs to be straight.
Yeah. I'm fine. And the Logano part though, like I think it should have been insanely higher, 100K, 250K. Like that needed to send a message.
I mean, all the other cars were going down in a nice orderly fashion until Joey comes down the way he shouldn't be.
Exactly. He broke a rule. He broke a rule getting out of line, and we've seen more of this too. Drivers thinking that they can just go and do it. Remember the whole deal with I think it was Suarez and Bowman at COTA. Not as egregious, but we're seeing this more. And I don't like that. And that's
lousy at Charlotte.
Fair. I mean,
that was crazy. What if there's a whole family walking in front to go see whoever was in front of them, Matt Kenseth or whatever,
I don't want to play bowling with racing families. Okay.
What if there was a family of baby ducks just trying to cross the street?
Oh, I think we saw that.
Saw that recently. We saw that recently during a 24-hour event.
Yeah, John and I are thinking the exact same clip. Oh, that was horrible.
I think it was Spa.
This is proof, though. As much as like I don't judge an entire race by its finish, a finish can define a race because we're well over 30 minutes into this thing. We got, at least at one point we had on my end almost 1,000 people watching, and we haven't even talked about the damn race yet. We've talked about the last 2 laps.
I wanted to actually touch a little bit on that. You talk about how before all that happened, how great a race this was.
It was
for Austin
fun.
Dillon. And I was actually looking at some of Austin Dillon's stats at Richmond. This is actually a really good track for Austin. Going back to 2018, he has had finishes of 6, I'm going to take out a few of these, 6, 6, 4, 10, 11, 10, 16, 9, and then first. And then that one that stood up to me was 4th in 2020. Y'all remember what that one was? That was when he had won at Texas, and this was a playoff race. And that's my man was out there. He finished second stage 2, second stage 1, 2. He led 55 laps. Looked like he could have maybe upset everybody then and won and advanced his way through the next round of the playoffs. But he come home 4th. I mean, it's a good track for him, and he finally put together the race that he needed. Then a caution come out.
That's such a bummer because it really is. Like, not that I love the winning you're in format, seeing a 30th place points guy snatch a playoff spot up, but it would have been a really remarkable story. A lot of folks have written RCR off entirely, saying even like Kyle Busch should just throw in the towel this year and focus on next year. And that's true. You should focus on next year, but this is proof that still in the next gen era, anyone can find magic any given weekend.
Come out of nowhere.
Exactly. So it was a great story until the overtime.
But yeah, and we're gonna move on in a moment to talk about the option tires and everything. But I just want to also remind you guys, the whole light goal at 500, we're 12 away.
Nice. Yeah, why did we set it so low tonight, Jeff?
So I had promised like last week we
have been going insanely high on them for a while.
Well, and I was thinking like, oh, it's Richmond. Nothing's happened there since Spingate. No one's gonna watch. It's gonna be one of those weeks. No. So, but I'm a man of my word.
But you don't have to stop at 500. I mean, if you guys want to, I
They
mean,
already
you're
hit it.
welcome.
If they hit 1,000, do we do 2 segments? Do you have 2 drivers, random drivers pulled up?
Jeez, no, I don't, but we do 2 the next week. How about that?
Okay.
So if they hit 1,000, like, or that, or how about this? If they hit 1,000, we won't do a like goal next week. How about that?
Okay.
Is that fair enough?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that would
fair.
unlock it for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
in
it
a row.
unlocks for back-to-back weeks.
So if you if you double it, then we'll.
I mean, we got 900 watching. We could. You never know.
It's feasible.
So while they can stew on that, the tires, I thought it was a success. Honestly, I think it could be better. Obviously, little things, but I had a blast with the way that the strategy worked with that race. Changes, or should we just do the same thing at Martinsville?
Rename it. It should be just
Yeah.
hard compound and soft compound. If you're trying to get someone that's a casual that's been watching Formula One or Netflix, it's gonna be easier for them to understand too. If that is the overall goal to really implement this long term.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're right. F1 fans especially are familiar with hard versus soft tires. I think at some point, maybe not this year, but going into next year, I wouldn't even be opposed to just exclusively the soft tire, and see where it goes. I liked the multiple tire compounds and the strategy wrinkle it provided, especially made like Daniel Suarez's night really interesting.
Yes.
But also it felt like it dominated the TV discussion to a degree that I don't know. I don't know that I want the tire compounds to dominate the discussion. When I've watched F1 races, they'll mention it, but it doesn't dominate the play-by-play. And maybe that's just because they've been doing it. So yeah, I think that's what it is it's new to NASCAR fans. But I still feel like, I don't know, with 40 cars on track, trying to keep up with who's on what compound, it's easier in F1 where there's only really like 4 or 5 cars usually in contention every week to kind of keep track of who's doing what. So I thought it was a success. I guess I sound like I'm down on it. No, I thought it was a huge success. I think they should do the exact same thing at Martinsville in the playoffs and then just keep being aggressive. I do think at a variety of tracks in the future, we could just go softer like the option tires were.
I don't know. I'm okay with making the option tires the full-time ones if we try an even softer compound. And if that doesn't work, have enough sets that you can just stick on the main one. I think that the reason it worked so well is because you limited how much of that basically boost you gave the drivers. It wasn't like when some of the guys were out, they're out. Like you played your strategy and you did it wrong. So you don't have these really grippy good tires for a short run at the end. Whereas it was looking like having the normal tires, that was the way to go under a race to the finish kind of deal. I would like that. I've kind of changed my tune over the years on it because I do like the option of strategy going more to the teams. And I said this Sunday night, we're halfway there. Like we're figuring out the tire side of it, but NASCAR needs to do their part. Like this car for short tracks, road courses, it is fundamentally broken. There are fundamental pieces that need to be fixed over time. NASCAR needs to do their part and not leave it solely to Goodyear to figure out the problem NASCAR created. Because I think if you get a car that can race as well as like a Gen 6 at a short track and you have these good of tires, you're golden. Like you've fixed the problem at the tracks that should not have had this problem to begin with. And this car races good at the tracks that the other generations like COT and Gen 6 really kind of sucked at. And then you got the best of both worlds. So I hope that NASCAR isn't like putting their feet up like, yep, R&D can take the next 4 months off. Like I hope they're like, no, we need to pedal to the metal. We need to fix this. Like while we're at it, let's tinker with the super speedway package a little bit more too. Like I think it can be really, really good on all counts long term if this is the direction they go, both Goodyear and NASCAR. I guess that's my long-winded way of saying that.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Keep pushing. But this was a big step in the right direction. And tires, tweaking the tire compounds is going to be a lot cheaper and a lot quicker of a fix than any major car changes. So I get why they're still focused on this area first.
Yeah. I guess there's one other thing we can really quick talk about. Martin Truex Jr., we'll talk about the playoff side of it in a moment, but he lost an engine, and this is not...
Where'd it go?
Ask the undrinkable chocolate milk, I guess, maybe. this is not something that's a singular case here. We got Ty Gibbs the last 2 weeks. We've had a couple others, like right at the end of the race at Gateway with Christopher Bell. Does Toyota have an engine problem?
Yeah, 3 weeks in a row, Gibbs has blown, or I don't know what Indianapolis exactly was. I don't think it was a straight up blown engine, but it was some sort of mechanical failure. Yeah, they've got a huge problem, especially with the playoffs 3 weeks away. Toyota, I think back to the first year of the Gen 6. I remember that year well because it was Matt Kenseth's first year with Toyota, and he was really damn fast. 7 wins that year, was in the championship fight until the final week. But they blew a lot of engines. Matt Kenseth blew a couple of engines that year and even had a win encumbered due to an engine issue. So JGR has a history, especially with new cars, it seems, of having some engine problems, trying to find a little extra horsepower here and there, pushing the limits, finding the limits. And I don't know, these are mistakes that you would like to see made in March and April. Like, you want to see these guys pushing really hard, but we're in August. I don't think we should still be over the limit. I would have hoped we'd have found the limit by now. So, and it's a mix of tracks. It's Pocono, Indy, high speeds, and there's a Richmond, a short track. You mentioned Hamlin at Sonoma. That's a road course. Like, there's no consistency to the type of track either, which is what really has me concerned.
Gateway, flat over a mile track. Yeah. I mean, it's that. You know what it reminds me of a bit is in 2012, Kyle Busch, you know, he wasn't great, but he was seemingly firmly in the chase at the time.
Yeah,
and it was just like one after another problem. A lot of them being engine issues. It reminds me though of JGR from that 2012 to 2014 era. Like, before they lowered the horsepower, like JGR and Toyota had major issues keeping their cars reliable, and it put them behind in a lot of instances. Hendrick Motorsports, or, you know, in 2014 at the end of the year, a Stewart Haas Racing. I won't put it in my prediction segment part. I do have an engine related, maybe a few engine related predictions, but I will say this: I think that this more than likely is going to cost one of the 5, 6, depending on how many Toyota teams make it in the playoffs. It's going to cost one of them going to another round or the Final Four.
I would not be shocked.
As that trucker car guy notes in the chat, it's only been the Gibbs cars. Reddick, Bubba Wallace have been red hot lately. They are not suffering engine problems. And a Legacy, I don't even know if they have engines in those cars. So it's only been a Gibbs problem, which I think is worth noting.
But, you know, I put it up a moment ago. Cut line, though, I mean, which, by the way, thanks, Austin Dillon. I had to redo this entire thing like right before the show started. It's close. It's really close. So we got MTJ is 13th plus 78. That should be good, but it's a little over a race and a half up. 3 races to go, so he should be good unless there's a catastrophic collapse and other winners. But Ty Gibbs, plus 18. Bubba Wallace, plus 3. Tie between Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain at that cut line. I would say this is probably, for me, the most compelling points battle on the cut line since 2016. Give or take, if you're looking at that, because I think all these guys can compete if they don't screw up.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is any of these 5, I'm going to say it. I think any of these 5 could be round of 8 drivers, like very realistically be round of 8. And you get to the round of 8, anything's possible from there. But like any of these guys, I mean, even Bubba Wallace, with how well he's run, I think he's got 4 top 10s the last 5 weeks. Another top 5 this past weekend, earned a bunch of stage points. Like even Bubba Wallace, even Ross Chastain, who struggled this year but has been to the championship 4 before. Like, I'm convinced any one of these guys could make a deep playoff run if they just get in, but one of them at least is not. So I don't know. I look at Chastain, probably the weak link. Chris Buescher, though, has disappointed me the last couple weeks. That team has made just a few unforced errors that have really put him far behind. Michigan, a Ford Fiesta of a racetrack over here, is going to be the what's the word? I guess it's like if they don't perform this weekend, I don't feel good about Chris Buescher either. So it's kind of a toss up.
You reminded me of Hollywood Undead by saying that.
Ford Fiesta. Do they still make Ford Fiestas?
I have no idea. I just remember Everywhere I Go back when I was in high school, that song came out and we played that everywhere. But this is a note. So this was brought up about the Austin Dillon deal. But I think it goes without saying that the 2 of these drivers that were mentioned, by the way, it's Matthew Owens on Twitter. Credit to him for putting this out there. Ty Gibbs lost 51 points on the cut line in 6 races. Chastain lost 74 in the same time.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'll put you guys on the spot. I want all your answers. We got the cut line back up on the screen. MTJ, Ty Gibbs, Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain. I think you know my pick. I think Ross is going to miss it. Who do you think is going to miss out of them?
I'll take Ross because Buescher is going to a track he just won out a year ago. And then we got Daytona, which Ford is fast. So I'll go with Ross. I think Darlington is his best shot to steal a win. I don't think it happens.
Ooh. We don't have many races left. I'm thinking Wallace. He did well at Michigan qualifying. Daytona, he's always a threat. Darlington, is he up there usually at Darlington? I don't think.
He's
Bubba Wallace.
I'll check, but I think
I don't
he's
think he can
fairly
steal a
good.
win.
2311 can bring a good
The
card.
only person I think that could steal a win realistically, and I can't believe I'm using the term realistically with how poor of a performance they've had this year, is probably Eric Jones, just because he's won there twice and in 2 different cars. I'm going to go off on a limb, and I'm going to say Chris Buescher because the execution late has not been there. And I know he won at Daytona last year, but I think Ross has proven that he's another one that's willing to do bold things when it matters the most. So give me Buescher. I think Wallace is going to be a little more consistent. And it's tough to say because Buescher's been up there what it feels like all year in a way. Ty Gibbs, I think, is going to be fine unless he has a horrible incident at Michigan, and that's going to just change everything.
He's going to blow. If he blows another engine, it's over. It's Gibbs over.
I'm actually, I want to put a poll up in the chat since we got 4 options. I'll leave MTJ off it since I would assume he
He's
should
safe.
make it. Yeah, I mean,
Unless he retires early.
Well, he'd have to now that I think about it, he'd have to blow an engine or 2. That could happen. But he'd also have to have the rest of them basically be perfect for 2 of the 3 races to get past him. So Ty Gibbs, Bubba Wallace, Buescher, and Melon Man.
The Melon.
Who misses? Who misses? I want to see what the chat thinks.
I'm going to go ahead and give my take on it because I didn't get a chance to yet.
Go for
But
it.
all of y'all saying one person, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say 2 people, Chastain and Buescher, don't make it because we still got Daytona. You know,
Daytona hasn't wowed us recently as that cutoff, minus the Austin Dillon debacle in 22.
But here's the thing. Austin Dillon could still win at Daytona and get himself back in. Michael McDowell could win at Daytona. There's so many people back there that could win at Daytona, and then we just say goodbye to both of you.
That is true, but I mean, Daytona's had the champion. I still consider it the championship cutoff of the regular season since 2020. We've had Byron, Blaney, Dillon was the one that was like, oh wow, but I mean, rain was affected in that leading up to turn 1. It didn't look like Austin Dillon was going to have a shot. And then last year, Chris Buescher. I just think the way people race at Daytona, it's still going to be very tough for someone to pull a rabbit out of the hat. They're going to need a massive wreck either on lap 14 or a rain issue with 15, 20.
I'll bring up a point in the chat here. Farkle 8000 brings up a point. This guy usually isn't on the cut line. He's been pretty good at Daytona with RCR.
Yep.
Kyle Busch. I mean, that's a real possibility.
He come close to winning a 500 the last 2 years.
Won
and
Talladega last year.
But hasn't won at
means-
Daytona since 2008.
Put Kyle Busch in the SEC because right now it just means more to him.
I don't. And that's the thing about Daytona. You have to be there at the checkered flag for any of those stats to really, in my opinion, count. In 2008, I think Coke Zero. That was the last time he has taken the checkered flag for a win at Daytona. We can go over everything else. I don't know. Because his luck has also been on the other side, not too great. 2018 Coke Zero, you saw it there. I believe 2021 Coke Zero ran the side of Reddick. I believe.
Be fair, and I don't think he's on the same level at Daytona. No one confuse this. But to be fair, Dale Earnhardt Jr. didn't win a race at Daytona for a decade.
That's true.
And then he won the 2014 Daytona 500. Now, granted, he won the shootout, the duels, like in 08 and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily exactly the same thing, but I mean, Daytona is where it's at for a reason. It's a wild card. NASCAR has made it pretty obvious.
I do think it'll be better when hopefully next year it's back as the elimination race.
I think it's supposed to be if what they said was true. But let's look at the poll really quick, and then we can move on, get to a little bit of trucks. We're going to end the poll off here. Melon Man at 42% is what the chat's thinking they'll miss. After that, Ty Gibbs at 23, Busher 22. Bubba has the confidence of the masses right now. 12% say that he'd be the one to miss. So very interesting how that's turned out, because I guarantee if I ran that poll 4 races ago, I should say, it'd be a much different answer.
Don't count out Bubba Wallace. He is so due for a Daytona win. It is insane.
Now, real quick, let's look at the ratings, both from the TV side of it as well as our side with the poll. We got a 1.2 rating at Richmond with 2.22 million viewers. A lot of twos in there, but a 14% drop in ratings, 8.6% drop in viewership. It was also the top non-Olympic sporting event of the week and weekend. So I saw this one stat that like NASCAR on cable on a Sunday night after the Olympics still beat baseball all weekend. So like, I don't know, get the positives where you can find them, I guess. But there is that. As for the poll, 12,000 of you voted in it. I think a lot of people were more preoccupied with seething than voting this week. 39% said great, 33% said good, so a 72% net positive. 13% said average, 5% below average, 10% said this race was bad, meaning 15% net negative on it. I got the first comment here. It's from Tank Slapper. Is it positive, negative, meme, or a mix of them?
Negative.
Mix.
Gonna be a negative response.
All he said, remember this was directly after the race, was, damn, Austin Dillon did them so dirty. So I'd say negative. As for the poll itself, I got it pulled up here. We had 600 comments on it, and less time because it was put up late on a Sunday night. But the top one here is from the Cloud Creation, who has Ricky Stenhouse and then emojis of a car crash. Austin Dillon frantically taking notes. Marshall Griffin says, Austin Dillon looked like me trying to win a race on NASCAR Heat 5. I'm sorry, I know it's off topic, but it's still funny to me that people will not play Ignition. It was the latest game. It's still funny to me. Heat 5 is objectively better, and I never played it because I was just looking at a copy and paste of Heat 4. Sorry, I had to go back to 2020 there for a moment. Irving Boy
let's not go back there anymore.
No, it's not too fun. Everyone lost their minds. Irving Boy said, that was the most Austin Dillon thing to do ever. Holy shit. Yeah.
Have your best race ever and it be remembered for you being a total nut job at the end.
Cameron,
that's so tough.
It is. And because he probably won't run a race like that again in his career. Or he'll turn around this week and prove everyone wrong. Cameron says Austin Dillon, and then I came in like a wrecking ball. I'm not going to sing it because I can't get as nasally as Miley. Let's see. Troy says that's chicken shit. Joey Logano, Richmond, 2024.
He said a whole lot else too.
Yeah, he did. The franchise says Austin Dillon pulled a NASCAR Thunder move. Yeah, I guess.
Again, every video game except Ignition.
Yeah, Ignition, he would like go into the track. Physics. Let's see. 86 Video Dump says Austin Dillon is the biggest hack in NASCAR history. Danny, your boy Bowman needs to do some work. He ain't living up to the hack name.
Yeah.
He's driving respectably. Let's see what else we got here. A lot of people saying that Dillon should be penalized. Remember, this is a pretty much unless they edit their comments, these comments usually are just a time capsule, which is really fun because I like seeing in the moment. A lot of people, holy Jesus, a lot of people are upset, and then there's a lot of people just happy. Cage is rattled. Check. Again, there were a lot of people invoking the name of Dale. Let's get down to the gutter. How about that? I wonder if the gutter will be positive. I'm not reading
that
any.
would be interesting.
I'm not reading any edited ones in the gutter, by the way. I'm also not reading books, so I will not read the book at the end. Me 181 says boring as crap. Just admit it.
What?
Raphael says no way you guys are voting great race. Race was boring as hell. This was actually a sentiment I did see in my chat a little bit before the finish, is people arguing if a strategy race is boring or not, which is just making me sad because if you just understand what's going on, it's really interesting.
Yeah, this one had so many more wrinkles than other Richmond strategy races.
I
Yeah,
think Richmond just has the sight of what Pocono and New Hampshire used to be to us. Because, I mean, then again, when we had Pocono, New Hampshire, that's when they had 2 dates. I think when it goes down to one, fans will see it probably a little bit different, more uniquely.
kind of like the Texas treatment almost, because Texas
Yeah.
has gotten a little more leniency from the fan base now that's at one date. And then Fate Shadow says most boring Richmond race in a while. Goodyear screwed up by putting out 2 different tire sets. I hard disagree on that, but that's why we have these comments. People can leave their opinions whether we agree or not. Really quick before we get into the first super chat stage break, we can kind of skim over the truck race. Ty Majeski got the victory in that one. Pretty wild duel at the end. Pretty much caused the 2 guys in front of him on one of the final restarts to move each other up the racetrack. I thought honestly pretty decent race overall. Danny Dye made it.
Yeah.
How about
That's-
Danny Dye?
He's in the playoffs. Good for him.
I don't have a graphic for it, but I can read off the truck playoff grid really quick. So we got Heim plus 39, Eckes plus 36, Majeski plus 21, 16 up for 4th place Nick Sanchez, Raja Karuth plus 7, Grant Enfinger plus 5 at the moment in 6th. 7th is Tyler Ankrum plus 5, Taylor Gray plus 1 at the moment in 8th. 9th is Ben Rhodes minus 1 at the moment on the cut line, and Danny Dye in 10th. And
Ben Rhodes has done nothing this year as the defending champion, but he's in, barely.
But the thing is, when has he ever done anything until literally the very end and then he wins it?
I guess that's usually true. I suppose you're right.
I know
Sport's been on a downturn too.
Yeah. Well, I know. I'll say this. I know one person that'll be excited to watch the first playoff race in the truck series. Okay,
He's in the
I
call.
guess we'll move on.
I don't know who. It would make
I'm
another
just-
Michael Waltrip joke, or did I?
Well,
I
it's-
drew a blank. Oh, wait. Hold on. It's on Milwaukee.
Oh, wait.
It's at Milwaukee, dude.
I have 3 more
Oh.
events to call in person before Milwaukee, so the notes page on my Google Doc is currently
Why
empty.
don't you tell the chat what you're doing in Milwaukee? How about that?
I will be calling the Milwaukee Truck Race and ARCA Menard Series race over the PA. It's going to be awesome.
That's
Excited.
awesome.
So while you're watching, when they stop talking on TV for a second, listen
You'll hear me.
carefully and see if you hear.
Yeah, sorry about that. I should have been able to catch on to that quickly. We have Owasso, Birch Run, and other
Listen
events.
better than John
just
is
before that
listening, and you
Sunday.
might hear John on the PA on TV.
I'm like sitting there about to be like, did I like let something out of the bag? I could have swore he tweeted it like, Ramus, help me.
I just
man.
assumed you're making another Michael Waltrip joke about Daniel Dye, but I was like, I think we already made one of those, so I was like,
No.
he's not making another one, is he?
No,
we can make more jokes about Mikey and Danny Dye.
I'm
I'm excited
actually
for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I love
I'm gonna make Michael Waltrip say, "Hey, I'm Danny B."
there's actually a Michael Waltrip in the chat that leaves super chats about Danny Dye on my channel. Which perfect segues. We hit 600 likes. By the way, again, if we hit 1,000, we don't do a like goal next week. Just letting you guys know now, because you'll just get the random driver. But that leads us into the first super chat stage break of the night. And my lord, you guys have a lot of them. So we'll get into that. I'm trying to let the damn thing reset because of how many there are. Antar Das was the first one to leave a super chat here for 5, saying, rare NASCAR W, but they didn't go far enough. Should have stripped him of the win to discourage these actions and a bigger points deduction.
Maybe that's a fair argument. I feel like I feel like it would have been a lot. They would have been going from 0 to 100 basically. As it is, they went from like 0 to 75, which I think that's, you know,
But
again,
it could be
there
the
hasn't.
future.
It could be in the future, exactly, but there was no real recent precedent for that. So I think them going to 75 instead of straight to 100 is reasonable.
Will Griffin for the 5 here says, so you can wreck the leader on the last lap and still keep the win from now on. Still seems like Austin Dillon came out ahead. 23-9 suspended, but the 3 isn't. BS. I think they probably weighed playoff eligibility like that as the same way as suspension, but it is an inconsistency of right hooking still.
Yeah, well, the Elliott and then Bubba right hooks were clearly retaliation. This one, there was no retaliation. It was just a scramble to the finish. There was already cars wrecking. Sorry, I'm watching the dog tonight, and he is needing some attention. But yeah,
give that dog attention. You can still talk racing.
he's just every now and then he just pops in here and he wants to be on screen. How's it going? Oh my goodness!
He just wants to give his hot takes on how he feels about NASCAR.
You realize that this channel has turned into the dog, reveal show because on Sunday I had Rhett come on, and then today we got
what?
I think Danny, or did you already say the name, or John already said his name? Eric, I don't know
Cosmo,
if you've
Cosmo the space dog. He's spacing out right now. Sorry, continue with the super chats. I got to wrangle this guy.
Irvin for 5 here says, I had to spell check my last super, so here is a revised version. The cucumber wins are back. I think it is fine for NASCAR to make the decision. Yeah, that's right. We were back to encumbered wins, cucumbered wins. Ben for the 10. Ben 10. It says NASCAR was right in penalizing Dillon, but fine as a Joey fan should be more. Also, sorry, Jared, about JJ McCarthy being out for this year for the Vikings. As a Chiefs fan that had family from KC, long year. Yeah, I'm a glutton for misery. But you know what? It'll be worth it one day. I'm also a Cubs fan, and it was worth it for that one day. But I appreciate it. Isaac for the 5 here says there's one more penalty that should be handed out for causing the lap 399 caution. Wreck-It Ricky will be sent to the Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao.
Those jokes will never not get a little chuckle out of me.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, NBA's leaving TNT. Those guys, they want to stay together. Like, we can always bring them on a NASCAR broadcast for once.
The NASCAR version should be like, get ready to learn BK racing, buddy.
Hey,
like something like that.
Barkley and Junior actually have a good relationship. I'm just saying, connecting dots here. And he did a show with Shaq back in the day. I don't know if any of you saw that. It was Shaq versus.
I think everyone has done a show with Shaq at some point. He's everywhere.
So Shaq had this show called Shaq Versus where he'd play sports with professional athletes in other sports.
Oh, yeah.
And he raced Junior at like one of the short tracks he had. Junior gave him, I think, like a 3-lap head start in a 10-lap race, and Junior still won by a lap. It was funny. You just see him like, and then there's just,
God.
Yeah, I remember watching that with my dad, and it was the funniest damn thing. Shorty PJM says, so you decided the best way to win after sucking since 2023's LA Clash, where you dumped Bubba Wallace for bumping you on a quarter-mile track. The standard was to dump 2 guys. How's that going?
Gotta one-up yourself.
Point. GN NASCAR fan for the 5 here says, considering he isn't the biggest RCR fan, I would love to be a fly on the wall in the Recce Spenhouse home. That's what it says. Also, the option tires were fantastic in the race. See, NR Night in America's in the chat, John. Antar Das for the 5 says, here's where I draw the line. Moving someone up the track, putting in the wall by blocking, that's on the line. Wrecking and right hooks equal penalty and DQs. I think that's pretty fair. Couple more here. Rouser for the 5 says, I understand like Hamlin was mad as that is a bad move, but why is Logano? He has done that move plenty of times to win. Kenseth at Kansas in 2015. That one, I get people saying, well, he was closer, but it's like a faster track. You don't have to be as far away to dive bomb a move and make the same result.
I guess I would not.
It's not.
I'm a big Matt Kenseth fan. He was blocking
Yeah.
several times. He blocked several times. I still don't think he needed to spin him out. He was fast enough to pass him clean, but that was not the same as what Austin Dillon did.
No, I'm not saying this. I'm saying that like there's more similarity than I think some people would give it, even though it's not the same. I saw a video from like 2008 or so. I think 40 put it out there. That was like Joey Logano basically went from the bottom of the track and cleaned somebody out into the wall as a teenager. It's like, well, I mean,
Wow.
taste of his own medicine. Bailey Reichert left two here, saying, shout out Parker Retzlaff for staying clean and running all the laps. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you didn't hear his name, which was a good thing. And then also, why is the Koch family so violent? Because I need counseling. Well, two more here. First one from Alex for 20 says, as a Joey fan, I must say, when bum-ass Dillon got his penalty, I was laughing like Pat McAfee. Yes, Joey got fined. Who cares about that? When Dillon crashes at Michigan, I will be wishing I had a telestrator so I could taunt him more. Tell me how you really feel. And then last one here for 50 from A Prada says, hey, NWP, please don't forget two factors. This mess is avoided if Ricky doesn't crash. And this finish doesn't happen if NASCAR originally penalized Ryan Newman back in 2014 for walling Kyle Larson to make the Final Four. This ruling was 10 years overdue.
Better late than never, but I agree.
We'll read the rest in the final Super Chat stage break later on. But guys, you know, three of us here live in the Nashville area. And I hear that tomorrow night we're supposed to get lightning. And Danny, look out! Oh, Danny's been hit. Danny's been hit.
He keeps getting hit.
I've been hit. All right. Let's get into the lightning round. It's a short one tonight. Kind of a little serious about one of them. But first off, just letting you know, NWP channel. Be sure to check that out. If you can't catch the episodes live, we re-upload them on there, every single one of them. We also have the NWP 400 trailer. We'll talk about that in a moment. The only real big news thing on here, people in the chat did bring it up. Kurt Busch is facing a DWI charge after being pulled over. He was speeding, going 63 and a 45, registered at a .17 BAC. I believe it happened Monday night. The news just came out today. I'll say this. I hope Kurt gets the help he needs. I will also say this. It is 2024. Call a damn Uber. Like I'm not even as a joke. There's no excuse anymore.
Exactly. There is no excuse. So it's disappointing to hear that. I mean, I guess you kind of laid out the details. I guess we know. Would love to wait for more details. I did see Kurt released a statement about half an hour ago. So I kind of echo what you said. It's just a shame. I've noticed I don't feel like I've seen him as involved, or at least not as visible within 2311 this season. I don't know if this will have any impact on his status there, or if that's already
I've
changed.
seen him at a race.
I've seen him
or
at the
two.
races mostly on like a side gig.
Okay. I remember seeing him a lot last year. I feel like I've seen him maybe once this year. But yeah, so it's disappointing though, to echo what you just said.
Yeah. Other than that, though, not real too much news lightning round wise. Just a few quick things after. But we'll bring one thing up here. Tomorrow night actually, and then next Tuesday night we do have the NWP 400. Tomorrow night we set the field. We have, John, is it 62 drivers going for the 43 spots?
62 for 43.
Yeah, top 4 in single car quals make it in the first 2 rows, and 19 more with both dual race, 29 cars in each duel, so 10 would miss in each one for a 20 car, 20 lap LCQ, winner take all for Mr. Irrelevant spot. And then Tuesday night, the main event, 160 laps. Both events, 7 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night, as well as next Tuesday night on John's channel, IDK Player. I will be there as well, co-commentating. So if you hear like the really professional, good sounding voice, and then the guy who's just doing try hard, that's me. Come on out. We do this every year. It's 4th annual. It's John, I believe it's your longest lasting e-ticket event.
It is, with the same name. We started it all the way back in 2021. It's been a big difference from the first one to what we have now. We've listened back on what that sounded like, but a long time coming. And 101 drivers are technically going for the 43 after we just had the shootout. Set 4 drivers into the duels with it. I'm excited. A lot of people are hyped for this one. The package, I think, is going to be very exciting. Where we're doing 208, 207 with the Gen 4. So it's going to be fun. I'm very excited for tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central.
And as for the night after the NWP 400, next week will be on Danny's channel, August 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Again, if you get up to 1,000 likes, we won't have to do a like goal for random driver. We'll also I can't see you, so like if you say something, it's like a phone call right now because I have.
I was just gonna say, we usually have it like 400 on my channel. Should we actually say 900? I don't know.
We'll take it too easy. Maybe if we get close, we'll have a lighter like goal. How about that? But the guest for next week is Auto Racing Analytics. He'll come on and break everything down for Daytona and the playoffs alike. Should be a lot of fun. We had him on earlier in the year, and it was a ton of fun. I believe heading into Kansas. So, hey, who knows? Maybe we're going to Darlington. Shades of 2003. Get another real close finish. Who knows? And Daytona, I should say. Either way, just saying, getting close. But that'll cover it for the first half of the show here. Let's get into a few of the headlines for this week. A couple of them, I think we can probably be quick on a lot of these because they're not huge headlines necessarily.
We had huger things to talk about in the actual race.
Yeah. We did not bury the lead on this episode, I can tell you that. But the first one is Kyle Larson. A lot of times people think of Kyle Larson, they think of him as a driver who's kind of low-key, doesn't really talk too much shit out there. He kind of went off recently. I don't remember where I saw it. I just saw the quotes going around. But he said he could beat Max Verstappen in everything but an open wheel car. Said, quote, "No way Verstappen could get into a sprint car and win the Knoxville Nationals or the Chili Bowl. I think I would beat him in everything else." You can quote that. Again, we don't have much to break down here, but I'm sorry. I love, I don't give an F Kyle Larson. I love it. Talk your shit, bro. Go for it. I want to hear the best guy out there who knows he's the best go out there because it just makes it more fun when either he wins or somebody inevitably beats him. I love it.
It's good. And he's punching up. I mean,
yeah.
It's arguable whether Larson or Verstappen is better, but who's more famous, more successful worldwide? It's Verstappen. So, I mean, you keep Verstappen's name in your mouth. It's good for clicks, good for clout, good for debate. I like it. I love the confidence from, probably the most talented all-around driver NASCAR currently has.
What would be the most even car we could put them in? I want to put a poll of an even car and then who would win. I know we have a heavily partisan NASCAR crowd here.
Maybe some sort, maybe like a prototype at Daytona, on the road course or something, maybe.
I was going to say a GT3.
Yeah, I worry that's a little too close to NASCAR though, but definitely a road course would be fair.
How about this? I'll just put who wins in an even car. Just because I don't want to alienate too many out there. No, we'll put Larson or Max.
Put them in a modified.
I would just put them in an Indy car on an oval at this point.
Because that's the one thing Larson said that any open wheel car Max would probably beat him in. But I mean,
not on an
modified is a perfect thing between open wheel and stock car racing. So
good point, honestly. Yeah, modified on an oval. Let's do it. Send him to New Hampshire.
Modified at Bristol. I don't know.
Put him in a iRacing truck lobby at Talladega. How about that?
MX-5, Spec Miata, Martinsville. Call it a day.
I'm not surprised that we have a very heavily NASCAR partisan crowd. I want to see this. I don't know if you have to make an Olympic sport. I don't know if you have back in the day, the Carl Edwards upset kind of deal.
Oh, that should have been upset. They was just talking so smack because these stupid NASCAR drivers think they can handle him.
I remember seeing that and just this is great. USA, NASCAR.
We needed better social media back in that time because that Twitter would have been unhinged.
Dude, I mean, that'd be the equivalent today of. Okay, that'd be the equivalent today, I'd say, of William Byron or Ryan Blaney beating Max. I would say, today, if you're looking at equivalents, thinking of that kind of upset. But I want to see this so bad. This is a shame. Why IROC hasn't taken back off again. Why SRX failed. I want to see this kind of crazy hypothetical thing, like in the, in December or something, after both seasons are done, maybe early January, and just see like the two best of the best, some of the best drivers ever go at it. But I had to point this out because everyone calls me a Hendrick hater because I want Hendrick drivers to like go out there and like talk shit and be themselves. This is what I mean. Like, yeah. I love this. More of this, please. Like, Kyle Larson, I don't know if you noticed the last 2 months on Twitter, that dude's been a menace, and I love it.
Yep. It's good.
Sorry, I had to say it because it's so damn fun to watch. There's some other more meaty subjects to talk about here, starting with schedules. Schedules starting to get pieced back together. Door Bumper Clear kind of let it slip that Xfinity Trucks and ARCA would be at the Rock, possibly Friday and Saturday of Easter weekend. There's been rumors swirling around about it. We've heard them. Others have heard them. It's like sort of like a badly kept secret, I think, at this point. But what do you guys think of lower series at the Rock? Chris Myers only said they wouldn't race Easter Sunday next year.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I love it, actually. I've heard this for a while that they were going to be heading there at some point.
I think it makes sense to do it with the lower series. I think the Cup Series does not, don't shoot me on this one. I don't think they need another race in North Carolina, especially as long as North Wilkesboro is on the schedule. I just don't think they do. I think it's a total oversaturation. But an Xfinity or Truck Series race, or even an ARCA race, return to the Rock, that's an easy ticket sell for at least a couple years. I haven't been to the track in a little over a year. When I was there last year, it wasn't Cup or any NASCAR series ready, but I know they've repaved it, added at least some safer barriers. Probably still need to add more. I don't know what the rest of the facility looks like now, but I mean, good luck. I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited because I don't think that the Rock had an attendance problem when it came back. It was 2 truck races that were held there, and the Truck Series is never going to bring in that huge crowd, even back in like the 2010s. So I'm excited about that. The other rumor that came out, it's not really a rumor, it's more that Iowa Speedway kind of leaked it, is their weekend would be August 2nd and 3rd per their emails for renewals. Xfinity on the 2nd around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Cup probably that Sunday night. It also fits the leaks that we've seen of the schedule and rumors in recent weeks. So I mean, that lines up also with starting back up on NBC Sports, too. That would be the first race back on NBC Sports, similar to this year, even though they only have 14 next year. I don't know. Does that line up around the same time or the same weekend as the Knoxville Nationals? That's my only question here, because that would be bad planning. It
might have I don't know. Someone in the chat who knows can tell us. Have they announced next year's Knoxville National schedules? I know they just happened, so it's I guess it's an early August thing. I
will admit ignorance on not following too well, so I don't know off the top of my head. But some are saying they do, some are saying they might. That's just saying. Or the 360 Nationals I see in there. So I hope for Iowa's sake it's a good date. I'll just say that. I hope it's a Sunday night, because I thought that Sunday night this week, maybe an hour later start time, so there's actual night racing and not just twilight or whatever racing. But I mean, I think especially if they do the full repave and get this thing set up and have some more testing, it can be another good weekend. The other big thing was contract extensions. That was actually going to be probably the big storyline of the week before Austin Dillon decided to go kamikaze into turn 3 at Richmond. First one here, Daniel Suarez extended into 2025 for Trackhouse. Do we think this is just a 1 year and then he's got to find somewhere else?
Yeah, well, he said his comments were interesting. He said it's a 1 year deal, and he said that it was a mutual decision between him and Trackhouse to make it a 1 year deal. But if performance improves and both sides agree, it could extend into a multi-year deal, supposedly. Like, there's framework for it to be extended. But again, he kept adding the stipulation of performance needs to improve. We're struggling right now. He said that. We only got one car in the playoffs right now. I guess Chastain is still technically out. He's lost the tiebreaker. So I don't know. It read weird to me, because in my head, I'm like, they say it's mutual this, mutual that. I like Daniel Suarez. I don't think there's a better team in Cup that's gonna come try to pick him up if he becomes available. Like if Trackhouse fired him tomorrow, who are the better teams than Trackhouse? Gibbs, they're not signing him. Hendrick, no. Penske, no. Roush, no. Would who am I missing? 2311, no. So like that's what I mean. Like if I'm Daniel Suarez, you can frame it however you want. You can tell us, oh yeah, we both decided, Trackhouse is struggling too. I don't know if I want to stay here long term. Like you can say it all you want. This is the best opportunity you're gonna have. I'm sorry. Like he's got probably some funding. He has a decent resume. Fans like him, but he's not getting a better ride than the Trackhouse 99. Not with his current resume, and from what I understand, his current funding situation. So it tells me that especially Trackhouse doesn't have full faith in Daniel Suarez. That's what it tells me.
So you'd say, I think we could probably say this is his last shot at being relevant in Cup, probably, unless there's a miracle.
Like his worst enemy might be Connor Zilic. If he goes to Xfinity next year and wins 5 races as a rookie, I mean, watch out. Well, I don't think he's going to, but I'm just saying if he does go crazy in Xfinity next year, Daniel may get another 1-year deal, and that could be it. That could be best he's hoping for.
This raises a few questions, though. There has not been I didn't even say rumors recently, but not any news about charters, whether it be the charter deal signed, whether it be Trackhouse buying one. Does this mean SVG possibly has to stay another year down in Xfinity, or they get that third one? And if not, is SVG the one knocking on his door? Because you're getting to a bottleneck here, especially if Zane Smith is still in the picture on this.
It sounds like Zane could end up back at front row. I don't know if that's a loaner deal or if he's just straight up out of his Trackhouse contract. We'll see. But everyone seems to suggest, and I have no direct source on this, everyone seems to believe SVG is going to get that third seat if it becomes a thing. Like again, assuming they do get that charter.
Still has 2 charters for the time being. That one's just a part-time ride. So
I don't know. Would you want to put SVG or Zane in a Colleague Cup car? I mean, basically just
Zane maybe, but he like that's the thing is I don't know what his deal looks like. If the rumors are true and front row is interested in him, I'd go there. Oh my gosh, like if he's got that as an option, I would go there personally. Yeah. I mean, if it just depends on how much Trackhouse and Chevy want to keep him in the pipeline.
Yeah.
The other big one is Eric Jones inked a multi-year extension with Legacy Motor Club, staying in that 43 car.
Poor guy.
Didn't even let me ask the question.
I'm not as down. You guys know me. I'm not as down on this team. Yeah, they're not good right now. I made a joke about their expense earlier. Like they're not good right now, but I still think in the next year, 2 years, they could be very good. Like it's going to take time. They're doing things the old fashioned way. They're building up their own exclusive notebook, and it's going to take time. They didn't take the shortcut that 2311 did, just buying someone else's data. They're trying to do it themselves, and that is going to take time. So Eric Jones is talented. Toyota is capable of putting fast cars on track. So I think in due time, this will be a more competitive seat. So I don't hate this deal. It's consistency for Jones. It's stability for Jones. Like I don't hate this deal. I think it works for both parties.
I'm just seeing a bunch of people just like free Jones. They must have dirt on him, all this stuff. It's like if he goes off in this deal and looks even remotely like he did in 22 speed wise and just gets better from there, like we could have so many people eating their words. Like any other thoughts though on the Trackhouse Legacy side of things? Because I think if they're able to build up around Eric Jones, like this is smart. If it's more of the same for 2 years, Jones better find somewhere better at that point, because it's like
he's only 28. So let's also keep that in mind. If in 2 years maybe he's showing some flashes, but the team still isn't great, then who knows? There might be another opportunity out there. But again, I don't think Eric Jones has much of his own funding. I like Eric Jones. He's not marketable. He's just not really. So really all he can give you is his talent behind the wheel. And we all think he's pretty good, but he hasn't shown us anything to suggest he's a future. Like the last time we saw him in a top ride, he missed the playoffs with Joe Gibbs Racing. Like
his name is so unmarketable that when he went, I think he ran a race at Slinger as a established Cup guy, they gave him some random name on a news that wasn't even him. They didn't know what his name was.
I mean, I'm looking, no disrespect, chat, but I see 3 people in the chat right now that are misspelling his first name.
Oh man, that's rough.
So
his name is Eric Jones.
To be fair, To be fair, I know a lot of Erics that I work with. I know Eric. I know an Eric with CK. There are drivers with ERIK. There's ARIC. Eric is a name of many names, and sometimes when I'm trying to talk to Eric Estep, my phone will correct it to the one I know with Eric with a CK. And
I guess that's a good point. Maybe it's autocorrect doing people dirty, but the point still stands that he's not exactly a household name.
No. I hope for his sake it does work out though, because he is a talented driver. It's just not worked out in any situation really. But that'll do it for the headline side of it, guys. Let's get to predictions and accountability on this. John, you've been on so many of the shows this year. You already know how this works.
Yep.
So as for predictions, each host has to make up to 3 NASCAR motorsport show related predictions and keep track of them each week, right and wrong, yada yada yada, concise, all that, blah 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 blah. As for me, I had to actually go to a smaller font this week because a lot came off the board. 4 right, 2 wrong. I said by the checkered flag for the Cup finale, there'll be a report of Rockingham trying to get back on the NASCAR schedule. That has happened. That the Richmond truck race would have no new winner that would qualify for the playoffs. Ty Majeski won. Toyota would make up 4 of the top 8 at Richmond exactly. That's how it worked out. And that NASCAR would have some sort of sanctioned race on Easter weekend, and it's looking like that is
Well,
the
that's
case.
not confirmed yet. Hold on.
Then
Jared. How's
I
not confirmed.
Then I will put it question. If it goes wrong, I'll write it
Okay.
wrong. I'll put it down. Don't worry about it.
Jumping the gun a little bit here. It's bad juju.
Hey, nothing can be as bad as the Threes juju right now.
Ben Kennedy is watching this show right now, and just because of that, he's gonna nope, scrap it. No
there's
Easter
going to be
races.
like a NASCAR roots race on Easter weekend. Jared's going to be like, it counts.
It's a NASCAR sanctioned race, isn't it? Hey, I'm just saying.
NASCAR Road to Pro. There's going to be.
We're not
there's gonna be on
okay.
Saturday.
The spirit of the prediction, we're counting it like not
All
virtual.
right.
I
Okay.
won't go that far. Though I did get these 2 wrong. I said Daniel Suarez's next contract would be a 2-year deal, and I said that no RCR card finished in the top 10 before the NASCAR playoffs at a non-super speedway.
Oh man, to be fair, that caught us all off guard.
To be fair, if he got DQ'd, I would have still been right.
He earned outside top 10 points. I'm pretty sure.
So that was pretty bold because I mean, Kyle Busch could still get one.
Yeah, that is bold.
Yeah, I think at the time I was making the prediction off the case that Austin Dillon remains Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch remains 2024 Kyle Busch. Eric, 1 for 1 this week, said Ross Chastain would fall out of the playoffs at some point before the regular season ends. And correct me if I'm wrong in this because the damn names got me all confused, but you said the Richmond winner would be on the prime tires when they crossed the line. I believe that's not what happened.
No, they were ended up on the soft. It was a bold. I was hedging my bets
You
that
would've been right.
that the what's it called? The tires wouldn't be as stark of a contrast as they ended up being. Like I thought it'd be more than Wilkesboro was, but less than it turned out to be. So no.
If they went green, you were right though, right?
Yeah. I guess that's probably true. If that final restart doesn't happen, I would have been right.
You were 1 Ricky Stenhouse crash away. And then
Ricky, he ruined everything.
Danny, the only perfect one among us, said Daniel Suarez would get a contract extension with Trackhouse for 2025. So good on that, Danny. Prediction percentage at the moment, and I guess we can put maybe a asterisk next to my 40.82, though I think it's still around 40 anyway. Eric at 33.93, and Danny up into 30.77.
I'm out of 20s. Let's go.
Hey, I'll just say this. We're doing better than a lot of people normally would. So just saying. But let's roll on into it. 3 predictions. We'll just go around the room here, starting with John, then me, then Eric, then Danny, then just do it 3 times like that. So John, lead us off. What is your first prediction? Give me anything show related, NASCAR, anything.
So I'm going to be honest. This used to be a rumor 3 or 4 months ago that everyone thought for sure was going to happen. I don't think Bowman Gray is getting the Clash. There has not been any talk in the garage area recently about it. It has really died down. There will be a Clash. I think it's going to be at Daytona.
Oh, that is
Bold
bold
move. I think they go back on the
Right.
oval just because of simplicity for a year, and they're going to go somewhere else. But I do not think it's going to happen with Bowman Gray. They have done nothing with that track since the rumors started to get it NASCAR Cup Series ready.
And we'll see you in North Carolina.
Very interesting. Well, I'm going to go on one that's show related on this one. We have the NWP duels tomorrow night, NWP 400 on Tuesday. There's a storyline that I'm going to be following very closely. A fellow Minnesota Vikings fan like myself, Braden Movick, has only made one of these events in the running. He finished 27th in 2021, I believe in a 5-point car, if my memory serves me right. This is my prediction. Write this down. Braden Movick will make the 2024 NWP 400. He will break the 3-year streak.
Oh,
if he's
man.
in the chat right now, I hope I put him on the spot.
He is. He's messaging me as we speak. So
Good luck. Is he the one driving the Canes car? Because that's one of my predictions.
That's Xander
no,
McKinney.
that would be Xander McKinney.
Yeah,
All right, okay.
Eric
He's got the
predicted.
McVice 42.
Eric predicted that Xander would get a top 10, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I went really bold. I went crazy. Well, my first prediction. I don't think Joey Logano or Denny Hamlin will wreck Austin Dillon this season.
This regular season or this season?
This season. I don't think there will be any contact between them that leads to a wreck.
All right. Austin Hill will give RCR a break and not make somebody mad for something that he did in the race this weekend.
Okay. He won't start it. He won't be starting stuff. Okay.
He won't be starting it.
But he might finish it.
He would finish it if you want to start it.
Boom.
I'm going to get bold because we're not in the playoffs. So this is considered bold. I'm going to say Tyler Reddick wins the championship this year, which is surprising, but I'm looking at what Logano did in 2018 and nobody was talking about him. Even though he's got one win, every time we have a finish, Reddick is just there in 5th, there in 7th, there in 2nd, there in 3rd. And I saw that he finished 7th at Phoenix, and I kind of like his consistency. Give me Tyler Reddick, 2024 champion.
Just got a DM from him. He sent me the scheme. Show the people. If you make it, I'll show him this weekend. How about that? That's my deal. And it's my turn. So I'm going to say this. We will see a blown engine in the Cup race at Michigan. I won't say who. I won't be that specific, but I do think we'll see one. It's still rare to see blown engines in the modern day. So that's my prediction. I think we're going to see at least one Michigan high horsepower track. You're putting a lot of stress on those engines, and if the weather is iffy or anything like that, like it might be a little more stress.
I believe, just like at Indianapolis, a Stewart Haas driver will lead the most laps in the Xfinity race at Michigan. Similar super speedway style engine package.
I still think he would be better suited in the office versus the driver's seat. So I will say Austin Dillon's win at Richmond. I hope it was worth it, but I think it'll be his final Cup Series win for at least the next 2 years for the end of 2026. I'm only going to go that far because I don't want to, fully hedge that on how long his career will go.
I think it's fair enough.
Be a hell of a trivia question one day. Austin Dillon's final win didn't really count.
It was cucumbered.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd say come Daytona, we are going to see a playoff driver who is already in the playoffs leading into the event win the Coke Zero 400. I'm even willing to go off on a limb and say it's Denny Hamlin because we all know how good Hamlin is at Daytona, even though with the next gen, he has not done his due diligence of running up front and keeping it in one piece. But I've seen a lot of life at 2311 right now, and I believe Denny Hamlin will be that playoff eligible driver.
That's very boring, but I could see it.
All right. If needed, I can edit this one if it's too much. If you think it might be too much of a slam dunk or too easy or anything like that, so I'm open to edit it a little bit. But at the moment, I think there will be at least 2 more blown engines from JGR in 2024. I think they're in a bad skid now, but
that's okay.
Team's correct.
That's okay because they could shock us and not have a single one.
I mean, has Hendrick blown a single engine this year? Somebody can probably tell me that they have, but like it's not exactly.
I'm pretty sure Bowman's had at least one that I know.
It's not exactly super common.
All right, Eric.
So
You are
it's my
next.
last one. Sorry. I did a Cup one. I did an Xfinity one. This will be a truck related prediction. He's coming on strong recently, and I liked the way these playoffs shape up for him. I think Ty Majeski is going all the way to the championship 4. I'll keep it at that. I'm not going to go further than that. I feel like that's a pretty good 50-50 call.
By the way, people are confirming Alex Bowman did blow an engine at New Hampshire.
Okay,
That's
is that
right.
the only one though? All right.
Mine's also going to be truck related. Danny Dye, first round exit. Michael Waltrip. Big sad.
Oh, brutal.
Look at Danny Dye right here, the greatest first round exit ever. All right, well, that is our prediction accountability session. I don't know why I talked like that. It's just one shush. So let's
People
go.
saying that's a layup. Well, guys, I have only 30%. I need a layup here and there.
We'll allow it. The court is adjourned. We will allow it. But let's get on to random driver of the week, y'all. So hide your chats. We got well over the 500 like goal. We're almost at 700. By the way, I was looking at the at least the data on my end for peak viewership, and we were over 1,000. So thank you, chat. I appreciate that. I didn't think we were, but I'll take it. So we good? Everyone being honest here?
I'm ready to go 3-0.
Chat is gone. Get out of here, chat. You silly goose.
All right, so Danny and Eric are tied 9 apiece on the year for the year-long championship winning this. We'll call it that because why not make it more prestigious? Guests have hit 5. I've got 1.
I think John has 2 of those for the
Yes.
guest.
Two.
Yeah.
2 for 2.
So this is gonna be a tough task this week. Let's see. All right.
This is one I either think you guys, and I guess this is a clue, this is one I think you guys either will get right away or it's going to be a while. But the last couple ones, since John won with Dick Trickle last, it has been Danny, Eric, Danny, Eric. Danny with Shauna Robinson and Quinn Houff. Eric with David Reagan and Corey Heim. All right, let's get this going. This random driver's father was the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. I'm going to Jackson. Know that song?
Good for him.
This random driver started racing at the age of 13, and it was looked down on immensely by his family.
We get 3 options, right?
Career in
Get 3
politics.
guesses. I'm not telling you. I'm not
I'm
telling you.
gonna
how
go
many,
early, and I'm gonna say Ricky Stenhouse.
and you would be saying wrong.
All right.
I know he's from
I'm willing
Mississippi.
to get a little bold.
He went with Mississippi and ran with it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not telling you how many. I'm not telling you how many clues we have either. This random driver won the International Karting Federation National Championship 6 times.
What are you doing, buddy? That dog's scratching me.
This random driver also won the 1978 Karting World Championship, and the driver this random driver beat was Ayrton Senna.
What, the 1978?
78.
Okay, so we got old school today.
This random driver was the only American to win this title until 2015 when Logan Sargent did. So, pretty accomplished. This random driver was born in the year 1948, the year NASCAR was founded.
Someone with
Man,
someone who's older and has some IndyCar experience, it sounds like.
This
There's
random
race in NASCAR.
This random driver had opportunities to jump over to F1, kart, and IMSA.
I don't want to waste my second strike yet, but I think I have something brewing.
Humpy Wheeler was the one who talked this random driver into driving in NASCAR. As we got the dog on the screen.
He's climbed onto my desk.
I'll just go ahead and say it to get out of the way. AJ Foyt.
Nope.
Okay.
So Eric has 3 guesses left, and Danny and John have 2 in the chamber still. This random driver's first start was in the 24 car. This random driver's last start was in the 9 car. Getting a little Chase Elliott.
There's no
action.
way.
Bill Elliott.
There's
I don't
no
know.
way.
I wasn't listening. Does John
Yeah.
know who it is?
Yeah, you got to guess?
I
Is he
missed the-
gonna?
I missed
Bill
the last
Elliott?
2 clues.
Is that your guess?
It's not Bill
I'm-
Elliott. There's no way.
I'm gonna say Bill Elliott.
You're saying wrong. You only got 1 left.
Oh
Putting
man.
perfection
They
on the
are
line.
from Georgia.
Yeah, you just never know what that bloodline can go with.
I don't know. The last one gonna be Cale Gale here.
24? Hey, you never know. You got to throw one up.
Okay, yeah.
This random driver ended up making 402 NASCAR Cup Series starts.
I feel like that number is low.
Enough to get a tweet on the NASCAR Twitter account. This random driver also drove 3 races for Yates in the 28 car.
3 races?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he is mad. Dog wants to chew on my pen, and he's mad.
Danny and John paid the dog off to make sure Eric was not focused.
He's a distraction. Cosmo, you're costing me.
If I had Shokes in here, he would probably be biting me and whacking at my leg for attention too.
This random driver drove for himself, Yates, and Bud Moore in the same season. This random driver also participated in 3 NASCAR Cup Series All-Star races.
Dog is a little menace.
No guesses from
Yeah, I got no
anybody?
guess.
I'm going to have
I've
to
only-
choke up on the bat on this one. I'm going to have to wait a little longer.
Yeah, I've only heard like 70% of the clues, but I had nothing.
This random driver's lone NASCAR Cup Series win came at Darlington, winning over Alan Kowicki and Davey Allison. The only 2 were on the lead lap with this driver that day.
So they only won one time.
Who won that race? I know what year.
What year?
Yeah, what year?
I'm not saying what year.
That's
I got one in the chamber. I can't let it out.
Well, what's the year before it?
I can't say that either.
This random driver also was heavily featured in a Slap Shoes video, even being the thumbnail driver. What? You got it?
No. I'm not going to DNF. We got to wait a little longer.
Wait,
Oh, who was the person?
is it that no, I don't. It's that I know. I think I know who it is. He did.
Like, I
didn't he
could
do
tell you a
whole-
car. I think they drove a lot, but I
It's-
can't tell you his name.
It's yeah. Maybe it's not this guy. I don't know anything about him other than he did drive the 9. What's his name? Oh my God, Chad is killing me. He may not even be the right answer.
This
Go on,
random
Chad.
driver finished his Cup career at Melling.
Oh, it is definitely him. What is his name?
He drove the spam car, Lake
Yes,
Speed.
what's his
Is that
name?
your guess?
Isn't it Lake Speed? Isn't that
Is
his
that
name?
your guess?
Yes.
Then you're correct.
Yes,
Dang.
that's it.
Thank
I
you,
was just thinking spam car, but I didn't know who drove it.
Isn't that Slap's like favorite driver?
Favorite scheme, I know.
Oh yeah, he did a whole. Thank you, Slap, for a good
Twin
guess.
Wall. We're
Gosh,
selling
I
the
knew
board.
the car, but not the driver.
So
Took me a second. I
Eric.
forgot his name. My God, I knew it was an unusual name, but
Eric
Yeah.
has broken the back-to-backness of like Danny, Eric. Eric 2 in a row.
Honestly, I'm just glad one of us prevented John from getting it this time.
Lake Speed.
Yep.
Man, it came into question, but I just didn't know. The spam car was what?
Yeah, I
He's
just
gonna
want to
get
call
me.
him Mr. Spam.
If he would have said this, if he would have said he drove the spam car and had my brain, Jackson, Mississippi.
Liter-
Wow.
Literally,
Are you
the
serious?
last clues I had were Cartoon Network. This random
Oh, that would've
driver
gotten it.
has
I
a
would've gotten off
similarity with Monty Python, one of Monty Python's skits. And then I was just going to go spam, like that, just like the Monty Python skit.
People are pointing out how much me and John choked this because Eric is distracted by the dog and still won.
That should have been the win.
we all got it like the same time. It just was like, who could remember the guy's name? First?
That
Yeah,
was
it's
what
like,
I was
we know
banking
you.
on.
We know your car.
That's what I was
Yeah.
banking on, is you guys wouldn't know his name and you just start throwing shit at the wall.
This
But,
dog, he is furious at me. He really wants that pen.
very fun segment on that one. Again, guys, we're only 290 likes away from 1,000. So if we hit that, or even I'll say this. How about this, Danny? I will capitulate to your demands. If we hit 900,
That's fair
okay.
because I'm a 400 like channel. That's fair.
yeah. If we hit 900, I'll do it. So we're 189 away. How about that?
But we have
Spam.
gone down in viewership a little bit, so that's to your detriment there, Chad, a little bit.
Spam the like button. All right, let's get on into Michigan this weekend. One note for this weekend, it will be the super speedway package for the Xfinity series. They're not going to be spread out. They're just going to probably drive in a line for a bit. Have a good finish. Everyone will say it was a good race. Not salty about Indy. Kidding. It was actually better than I thought it'd be. The races here. Xfinity will be the Cabo Wabo 250, 125 laps, 30-30-65 is the stages, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Start on USA Network and the NBC Sports app, MRN, and Sirius XM will hold it. What's up?
I love that name, Cabo Wabo.
Oh, yeah, Cabo
Dog,
Wabo.
what do you think of Cabo Wabo?
Cabo Wabo. Sounds like what like a droid would say in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Roger, Cabo Wabo.
Now I'm gonna rain on your parade by telling you the weather here. Saturday will be 76 with light rain, 79% chance of that. And John Hunter Nemechek, who is racing in this race, is your defending winner. As for the Cup race, the Firekeepers Casino 400, 200 laps, 45, 75, 80 is the breakdown on that one. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on USA and NBC Sports app. MRN and Sirius XM will hold the race radio. And it'll be 76 showers, 62% chance of rain. Both these from the National Weather Service, updated at 6 p.m. Central Time. Chris Buescher is your defending winner. All right, guys, let's get to the pick points here. Chat is still leading with 361. I have the tiebreaker over Eric at the moment for second, but we're both tied with 20 points back apiece. Danny, 22 back, has made it to the basement, but everybody closed up on the chat this week. And I'll tell you this, I was one speeding penalty away on Christopher Bell's part from a sweep. I was so damn close. But I wasn't there. So let's get to the picks here. Xfinity. John, who's going to win the Xfinity race?
I'm gonna go John Hunter Nemechek. I like Toyota there. I like John Hunter. I mean, he's defending winner. There's not much I can say heading into this race, so give me JH.
Kind of figured you'd go with him, so that's why I had him number 2 for me. This kind of plays into one of my predictions earlier. I'm going with Austin Hill. He's not going to make anyone mad because he's just going to be out there and win the race.
That means I get my free pick of my 2 favorites. I'm going to go with Cole Custer.
Okay. Then I am going to go with my number 4 pick, and I will go Riley Herbst, which would be 2 in a row for Riley Herbst. Yeah. That'd be crazy.
I know that. I wanted to go with Custer because I think an SHR car is going to win, but I don't feel confident picking Herbst twice in a row. So I'm glad I got Custer.
I quickened our pace so much that I think they're still catching up, but I think they're going, I see 7 and 2.
A lot of all guys.
I'm saying a lot of 7.
Yeah,
they're going Allgaier.
Yeah, it's definitely 7. So chat gets Justin Allgaier. John, lead us off on the next round. Who's going to suck in Cup?
I know someone's going to say it. I was going to say him, but I'm not going to say it. Let's go. You know what? Let's go Brad Keselowski. Let's get a little bold. I know this is his home track, but at the same time, all eyes should be on Chris Buescher. I think Buescher's going to be the better RFK driver this weekend.
Yeah, I'm also not going to say the obvious answer, but I am going to pick on my boy. I don't think this is an Alex Bowman weekend, so he's my pick for that one.
I'm going to go Chris Buescher, similar vein to John. Like Ford will be good here, and Buescher obviously won last year, but that means expectations are high and they're just not executing.
Austin Dillon, because why the hell not? I'll take the low-hanging fruit. And then the chat, yeah, they're in the same vein as me. Austin Dillon is their pick to suck. So, dark horse, who you got?
I'm going to go Ross Chastain. Yeah, I know he hasn't gotten a win this year. I still have a lot of faith in Trackhouse. I still got a lot of faith of him making the playoffs. Give me Ross.
I'm going with Ty Gibbs. He's still got a lot to prove. He's trying to wrap up that playoff spot. He needs to have a good weekend.
I'll go crazy here. He won at Auto Club last year. RCR just showed us something they haven't shown us all year. Why not Kyle Busch as a little sneaky dark horse? You never know.
I'm going to go with somebody who's been fast in both races next-gen wise when it comes to Michigan. Didn't work out in the first year, but got a top 10, I believe, last year. Daniel Suarez.
I believe the chat might be saying Bubba. See a lot of 23s.
It looks like they are. We're gonna give him Bubba Wallace, which leaves us to our win picks.
Give me Kyle Larson. Going to be really safe this episode. He's already a winner at Michigan. He's been very strong. I like what I saw from Indy, and I know Indy is not very much like Michigan, but lengthwise, I think he's going to be a driver to watch for.
And chat, I'm perfectly fine if you have him just as underdog, because I do have Bubba Wallace. That's my win pick this weekend.
Ooh, and I will
Damn.
go with the other 2311 guy. Even if he doesn't win, I can count on him to be top 5. Tyler Reddick.
I'm going to go with the guy who's been the most consistent when it comes to finishes. I believe 3rd both years. And he's pretty damn good still. Pretty good overall. I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin this week. I think Denny is somebody that everyone is overlooking heavily. In chat.
Chat's pretty overwhelmingly Blaney, I think.
I think it's Blaney. Seems to be where they're going. Some Keselowski's, but definitely
It's a
Blaney
lot of
now.
Blaney.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is Blaney if I've ever seen. So we'll give him Ryan Blaney as their pick. Good pick.
Good picks across the board. Even the Bubba one.
Yeah.
he's been good lately. That could
This
be
is a
sneaky.
track that he's due for a win at Michigan.
Wasn't he second here 2 years ago?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely surprised that nobody picked MTJ.
And I'm also thinking there's something to the chat putting the most confidence in Bubba making it in that earlier.
Danny's
like, the chat's leading the pick point, so I'm going to use that as research.
Write that down, Gary. Write that down. All right, let's get to the final super chat stage break of the night. There's a lot. So Maxime here for the Canadian 5 says, I have one question. If it was only 3 versus 22 and the 3 still did win, do we get that penalty for the 3, or is it because you add in the instant with the 11? I think that's probably.
I think Hamlin made a big difference in that personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance NASCAR would have let it go if it was just the Logano thing, although it's debatable.
Ross Crash Stain for 5 says, right-brained people, Austin hooked Denny. Left-brained people, Denny came up. Me, an intellectual. Why would Ross Chastain do such a thing? Good callback. Richmond.
funny
It's
one.
Richmond, too.
I like that. That's clever.
That's a good callback. Bobby Blair for the 5 here says, what a calm, totally normal last 72 hours it's been in the world of NASCAR. Yes, very much so. Roberto left a 1 for super chat in the channel. I appreciate it, even though there's not a comment on there. And then we got Michael Waltrip for the 2 saying, Danny die. Danny die. Danny die. Sly Supersonic for the 20 here says, I honestly don't blame Austin Dillon. 2024 has been a terrible year for RCR. RCR is in turmoil right now with Kyle on his way out and Austin moving to management in a few years. I think RCR will wind up like Haas next year.
Ooh, I think that's a little premature, but I am with them that I don't fully blame Austin Dillon for going for it. It's the format, it's what it rewards.
I said it Sunday night that Austin Dillon did what he had to do in the sense of put NASCAR in the tough spot, because most of the time they don't make the tough call. They just sort of slap you on the wrist.
I mean, see the spring Richmond race.
Yeah.
They didn't make any call.
Yep. Napa fan 927 for the 2 says, playoffs have integrity since when? That is a bit of an opinion, but we'll roll.
Integrity, established 2024.
Integrity. Welcome to Integrity Farms. Matthew for the, I believe, Australian 5 says, hopefully this makes Michael McDowell pull his head in. Okay.
What?
I don't know. Probably something I'm missing here. It's probably on my end. This problem.
That joke went over my head.
My head might be empty.
Someone in the chat explain what that means.
Twin Spinner for the 10 says, if NASCAR didn't penalize Austin Dillon, they'd, by extension, allow it to continue, and they wouldn't want to paint themselves into a box to deal with this if it happened again at Phoenix for the title. I agree.
Sure. Yeah.
Austin for another 10. There's a couple 10s here. So Austin says, I agree NASCAR made the right choice. However, I think this one opens up a can of worms. When does a finish become controversial enough to justify taking away a championship contention going forward? That is something that's going to be in NASCAR's court. And, I disagreed with a lot of what Jordan Bianchi said on the teardown on Sunday, but they did an episode earlier today. And I kind of agreed with him. It's like, you're going to get put in that position at some point. It's just inevitable. And knowing NASCAR, it'll be sooner rather than later, or it'll be the worst possible time. Because when does NASCAR catch a break with that stuff? Rowdy8 Diecast for the 10 says, took some friends to Richmond that didn't know much about NASCAR, and they went crazy for the finish. It was fun from that standpoint. Also heading to Michigan, so any recommendations for a first-timer? There's not much around the track itself. I would say the vending tents, really, really good. Show up early before people get the best stuff. But the vending tent area, really good across the street from the track at Michigan. Traffic is an issue. Get there early. That is it's been a problem since the 2000s. It was a problem in 21 when I was there. I'm sure it's still an issue 3 years later.
I would say at some point during the weekend, I know they're not going 210, but go stand near as close to the fence as you're allowed near the entrance to turn 1, at least once, even if it's during like a practice, because that would just be kind of cool.
God, I remember in 2007 we had lower seats on the front stretch and those cars screaming by, and it was just like
Sitting low at NASCAR races.
Yeah, that's right. I'm talking to the right guy here.
Yeah, John here being like, I want the car in my face like Austin Dillon's was in 2015.
And I was sitting row 7, just pointing that out right in front of me.
Yeah, I remember because you showed me the video you got of it. It was really
I show everyone that video. It's the greatest video ever.
Do you have it up on your channel or no?
It's somewhere on my Twitter.
Yeah, we'll find it. Let's see. Austin also put for 5 here. Says that Austin Bland said, I should say, because it says this wasn't primarily Austin's fault. It's NASCAR's fault for creating a system with playoff win and you're in, overtimes, etc. It has created what you saw.
Yeah, partially. It's definitely partially on them, which is why it's also on them to rein it in when they need to.
Napa Racing fan for the 2 here. Rick Allen before the overtime. Dillon is 35th on restarts. He's been horrendous.
I know that was actually a good, like really timely stat pull by Rick. I mean, I'm sure it was somebody in the NBC, background who pulled that for him, but either way, it was a really good pull in that moment.
I had a feeling he was bad, and I really felt like, okay, he's lost the race if they got to do a restart.
And against Joey Logano too, who's got to
be
top 5
with Denny Hamlin right behind him.
Yeah. Sly Supersonic for the 20 here says, if 2013 Spingate is any indication, I think this will be the proverbial end of RCR. I think that this is the last straw for Richard. I think if he loses the appeal, he sells RCR. At this point, what does Richard have to lose or gain? I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. But to be fair with you guys, I saw Mikey pacing the motor lot because we were right across from it at Chicagoland the week after. I knew something was up. I didn't think it would end MWR at the time, and that was a way better team. But I will believe it when I see it. Z06 Paul says, with the penalty, this means that MTJ is pretty much a lock. Huge sign of relief.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so, unless they blow 2 engines. I could get my prediction right in one race, actually, if 2 of them blow up this weekend.
But I will say, a lot of people want to see MTJ at least be in the playoffs for his final season.
CM, I appreciate the super chat. I'm not going to make fun of Kurt Busch, though. Bobby Blair for the 10 here says, I agree with the penalty. I felt it was fair. I just need to see NASCAR establish a clear rule or penalty in the future for similar things. This should set a precedent going forward. I think we covered that. Antar Das says, for 2, Joey's comments post-race are Hall of Fame worthy. They were pretty damn good. Awesome.
I saw someone somewhere, it was like on Twitter, I think they said, that's the kind of interview that makes you want to buy a guy's t-shirt.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a very NASCAR way to put it.
But it's true. It's true. Austin Blanchett says, for 5, for the sake of our sports championship integrity, this was the right call. I can't even say that with a straight face when we have no legitimacy left. I think it speaks for some fans for sure. VA Sensation for the 5 says, why couldn't they have just suspended him for a week from the Denny wreck and then no waiver? NASCAR could avoid setting the precedent on that line. I think they probably covered the same thing, but we'll find. I think we'll find out. We'll find out probably in the next 10 weeks to a year, the ramifications of this.
I think there was enough. I mean, I had plenty of people telling me that Hamlin came up. Like there was enough of an excuse Austin Dillon could use. Hamlin got wrecked. Like it was Austin Dillon's fault ultimately, but you could make the argument that, it was they came together because there was already a crash like that. I think the reason they're not suspending him is because the right hook was not as I just think objectively it was not as explicit as when Bubba chased Larson to the apron or when Chase Elliott was going straight and then suddenly hung a left. Like, it wasn't as blatant. The S&T makes it pretty clear that Dillon was mostly to blame, but it wasn't as cut and dry as those others. That's why I don't think he was suspended.
No. Oh, I'm in the right. Okay, I didn't lose my spot. Nap Racing Fan 927 for the 5. Dale Jr. This is why we need to keep Richmond second date. We need short tracks. Don't go to Mexico. Too many road courses. Suarez, go to Mexico.
And more road courses, I'm sure he's also saying.
I was sorry, but Dale Jr. when he went on there and he's like, short tracks are dying. You can't get rid of Richmond. It's a staple of this sport. I'm like, Dale, we added a short track at the Clash, and we added North Wilkesboro, and I mean, if people want to classify it, even though it's not a short track, or we might add Rockingham. I'm like, okay, it's
Iowa Speedway.
Iowa. Yeah, like, let's cool it down, Dale. Like, just because it's not your short track doesn't mean it ain't a short track. Who knows? Maybe his buddy at the Cars Tour, Kevin Harvick, will bring Kern County onto Cup one day. Andrew Winslow, thank you for becoming a new member. Pob Baccaris for the 5 here says, boys, enough Austin Dillon talk. Daniel Dye made the playoffs.
Not Pob.
Ross Crastain, thank you for the 9-month member chat. When winning means everything, people do anything. That's actually a really good motto.
That's basically it. Put on a t-shirt. Like except now you can't because it'll get encumbered.
It's like an Uncle Iroh quote. Wolfion0617 for the 10 says, I do not care how right you are to be angry. Threatening a child is absolutely never acceptable. As a parent myself, I'm extremely disappointed in Logano and NASCAR for such a light penalty.
Ooh.
I'm on your side with it, man.
I'm not a parent, but I agree.
Blake, thank you for the 5. Been a Dillon fan since 2013. Though I was happy to see him win, I wish the last caution hadn't come out. Fair punishment, in my opinion. See, that I like when fans of a driver can step aside from that and just look at it honestly with it. Like, I think that's really cool. I wouldn't have been able to do that as a Dale Jr. fan. I'm just being honest. I would have been frothing at the mouth.
I respect the objectivity.
Yeah,
I respect that. I respect that. Yeah, no, that's good.
I
do feel bad for you that last caution came out. I really do.
Yeah, because I think he deserved that win. It's just the way he did it wasn't the right way.
Exactly. That's what I said on my show. I was like, he is the rightful winner of this race, or most deserving winner of this race, but not like that. Why did it have to be like that?
Twin Spinner says Jeff Gordon is added to the playoffs. I knew that one was going to be there.
I was waiting for that notification. All right, now it's business.
Like dislike for the 5 says, imagine the flag man waving the black flag while Dillon was in the middle of his burnout. That would have been an iconic shot one day.
That would be so. I kind of wish they'd done that now. That would have been hilarious. Imagine he's burnt. It's just like in iRacing, he's throwing the flag at him, basically.
Fred Dog for the 5 says, would most of you agree that if the 3 only spun the 22 and not the 11, he likely would keep his playoff eligibility? The second wreck is damning. I think that's
I think that the Hamlin one is what did it.
I'm a little more on the side of, I do think the Logano wreck was too far in itself. I don't know that NASCAR would have ruled on it, but I would have been I was iffy when Logano punted Byron 2 years ago. I thought that was a cheap shot. I get that it was retaliation or something, but like, come on, not really.
Wasn't it a BS reason he gave for retaliation?
Byron squeezed him a little on the previous restart, but like, if I recall, there was barely any contact. Like, it was tame by modern NASCAR standards. So I was iffy on that. So seeing what Dillon did just to Logano alone, I felt that was over the line, but I respect that NASCAR probably wouldn't have ruled on it.
I think it's funny you say that, and then like Byron turns around and wins more races in the next year and a half than Logano won in like the last 5. I do think though, I'm surprised NASCAR did the penalty, honestly. Like I said on Sunday, I didn't think NASCAR was going to penalize him, and if they did, I thought it'd be a slap on the wrist. Well, a lot more here, actually, so we probably get to it. Zach for the 5 says, will Austin Dillon's penalty have an immediate positive effect on the current driving behaviors, in quotation marks, in the Xfinity or Truck Series, especially in the last laps? If NASCAR holds steady with this precedent, I think so. Because I don't know. I would say like
it won't make it worse. I don't think it'll make it worse. I don't think you'll see more drivers trying to test NASCAR. I just think some of these drivers can't help themselves.
I think we'll see the first one try, and if NASCAR is steady on this, get burned, and then that burn will sear itself into the truck series. That's what I'm hoping.
Even in Xfinity and trucks, like, you know, did Corey Heim get a penalty for wrecking Hocevar at Phoenix?
It's called what, Eric?
Did they find him?
Is
or
it
anything
stuck in a car door?
Did they find him or anything after that? Because I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, wasn't there a truck race a couple years ago where like Stuart Friesen like KO'd some like Todd Gilliland on a final restart, and it was kind of ugly. And but I'm like Ty Gibbs wrecking Brandon Jones. To me, that was bad, but that wasn't as blatant as what Austin Dillon did. So like I don't even know. Like we haven't like what Austin Dillon did was arguably worse than what we've seen in any truck or Xfinity race the last few years. So it's like I don't even know. Has anyone gotten to that threshold yet? If they haven't, I don't see them getting there now. I think this, if anything, will scare some of these guys a little more straight.
Okay, I can read. Hold on. I hate that I'm laughing while you're making actually a really good point. I'm just I looked at the next super chat. It's from CM. I can read this one. It says, technically, this is all Danica Patrick's fault. The trauma Stenhouse sustained from a relationship with her surely caused him to lose focus and hit Priest.
It was pretty wild that happened in front of the race leader. Like that.
It did.
And it was the 41 insane. Again. It was Priest, the 41 again, and Stenhouse with RCR. Like,
this is the second time he has caused drama in NASCAR with being technically the final caution before what would be an overtime. Obviously, Texas in the All-Star race where he lightly tapped the wall.
Yeah, Ryan Priest just keeps getting involved in these last lap incidents. It's so sad.
We need to have Priest and Stenhouse out on a poster and just have it's the usual suspects.
Don't do that.
Twin Spinner for the 10 here says needs to be only essential crew members and officials directing cars out on pit road until all cars are stopped, engines off. Then NASCAR gives the all clear. Then family and sponsors can enter pit road. I'm with that.
That's how it should go. I just hope they have the manpower to enforce that.
Hey John, I see Muvix in the chat.
Oh, there's a shocker.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read that one, but I appreciate your $2.
But also, you try telling a man going to Bass Pro Shops what he can and can't do.
Don't build a pyramid. Oh, God, there's more. I better get to it. Bruce, thank you for the 10 here. Pathetic NASCAR makes a new rule mid-season to DQ Dillon. Hoping RCR wins the appeal. The panty ringing over hard racing is hypocritical when it will be used to promote the future Richmond races. I agree. They're going to use this.
Yeah, well, I
disagree with
their
the
marketing
half.
for years.
Yeah, I mean, they do that. I don't like it. Most people of us think it's kind of silly and over the top. But
NASCAR
how
does have.
How long did NASCAR run with Ryan Newman's wreck in 2020 when it happened?
To be fair, but I'll say that I disagree with the first part because NASCAR actually does have a rule about
they
it.
just never enforce it. Yeah.
They enforce it at their discretion, which is a total.
They enforced
NASCAR.
it against Lane Riggs in a truck race this year, but he wasn't racing for the lead, I don't believe. But that's like it. That's the one time they've enforced anything like it this year.
NRF 8 here says for the 35-month member chat, appreciate that a lot. Do y'all care what they name the tires? It needs to be more straightforward and easy. Like just just like
hard and soft compound. Yeah. That's literally what it is. That's what you can roll with.
The hard and soft tires at Phoenix Raceway.
Hard, soft, and wet at Phoenix.
Yeah, the wet. Yeah.
Andrew, thank you for the 5 year says Joey Logano was about to channel his inner Darth Vader at the end of the race. Oh, that's bad. I just realized which way you were going with that. Damn.
Oh, wait.
Master Logano, there's too many of them. What are we going to do? Hunter, thank you for the 10 here, says, I'm taking my girlfriend to her first NASCAR race at Atlanta in a few weeks. Hopefully a new NASCAR fan in the making. Well, I know I took my now fiance to Daytona and Talladega back-to-back, and that got her hooked. On top of the fact that she was interested in a 550 Pocono race. I was like, okay, there's hope here. We can make this work.
Was that the one with or without passing?
It was the one that almost got ended by darkness, with Denny Hamlin finishing, I think, second to Kevin Harvick. It was one of the doubleheader years.
It sounds like a real barn burner.
It was.
The problem is you created a Denny Hamlin fan somehow that day.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? That's her like, you know, that's like the preschool. That's the preschool version of becoming a Vikings fan. Like, you know, the pain will end as a Denny fan. Like, he'll retire whether he has a championship or not. The pain is never ending for me. It's all about me. I'm totally not a narcissist. Jacob, thank you for the 5 here. Says simple solution: go back to old school victory lane interviews and celebrations. Keep families and broadcast stuff off the track post race.
Yeah, there you go.
Tony Z says, Hamlin fan here. This is all to blame on green-white checkers. The deserving car, the 3, won. I'd be more mad if someone else won because of some hack's inability to control his car. It happened too much this year.
It has happened. We've gotten a lot of overtimes this year. I'd love to see a stat on like percentage of races ending in overtime, or just if we go with just sheer number of overtime restarts, this has to be a record just because of Nashville alone.
Yeah,
like it is a lot. I will say it's becoming it's an alarming trend. Like Kyle Busch wiping out at the end of Indianapolis. Like he's better than that. Stenhouse, for whatever, he should be better than that. Let's put it that way.
Did they end New Hampshire with one? I know they ended with a short run at the end.
Who won at New Hampshire? Bell?
Bell won that one.
I don't remember how it ended.
Nashville had a late race caution as well.
Had everything at the end of that Nashville race.
Nashville had everything.
I was about to say, were we talking about fairgrounds? Because there were a couple late race cautions at Super Speedway. God, my memory is great. I can't remember what happened a month ago. Isaac says, unlimited option for tires for McDowell supremacy only. A man of culture.
McDowell, where did he finish? Like 11th, 10th, 11th, 12th? He had a good finish ultimately. And he was also on sort of an off tire strategy.
I got it.
So good job.
15th.
Oh, I thought it was a little better than that. Still not terrible. It's okay. I thought he was like 12th. Damn.
Michael Waltrip for another 2 says, leave a like for playoff driver Danny Dye.
There we go. We got 700 plus Danny Dye fans in the chat.
Yeah. Fred Dog 81 for the 10 says, since Danny likes to gaslight us for not hitting the like goal, I feel it's fair to return the favor. I'll start by using Hank Hill's motivation speech on him. Oh, what am I missing? I haven't watched it.
I don't know the Hank Hill motivational speech.
What's Hank Hill got to do with it?
I don't know. I think he wants propane and propane accessories.
Yeah, we know like 2 lines. I'm sorry, we're not very cultured.
Hey, I'll say this: the greatest scene in any comedy show ever was when he couldn't open the door with WD-40, so he got a smaller bottle of WD-40 to work on that one. Greatest joke ever written. I will argue anyone.
That's a good joke.
Scrappy Yard 24C left a couple here. Says Austin Dillon wins the Wreckfest 400.
There was 2 wrecks in the whole race, and they both came basically the final 2 laps.
He also says, with the announcement of the MLB game in Bristol, I think it would be a huge marketing opportunity if they keep the diamond on the track a little longer and invite the Savannah Bananas to come.
Oh my God.
Aren't they taking out part of the wall by chance? Because I saw the render and I was like, I wonder if they're going to have to screw with the pit wall at all.
Well, there's not going to be any room for the haulers if they have a baseball field in the middle of that track. I am surprised. Like you saw the stuff with Elliott and Chastain, who I'm like, why is he there to represent the Cincinnati Reds? Isn't he from Florida? Does he even play does he know anything about baseball? I just thought that was interesting. But y'all saw like all the Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain promotional stuff they were doing. Like I think it's pretty cool that NASCAR is involved. Like on the initial post of from Major League Baseball and like Instagram and stuff, like NASCAR was a co-author on that post, which I was like, oh, that's really cool, especially considering they don't own Bristol Motor Speedway.
And I think they helped out a little bit with the football game back in 2016 as well.
Yeah, it's good, or I guess it's good for NASCAR, good for us that there is some legit cross promotion, that like the NASCAR brand and name and drivers are being involved in some way, shape, or form with this.
Yeah. Just a good amount more here. So David Bell for the 20. Fitting. Says, Christopher is moving up that points ladder. Hope you men have a great weekend. Thanks for all you do for the sport. Hashtag Team 20. Hashtag Team Toyota.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David.
And good luck to Christopher this weekend.
Yeah.
Joe for the 10 here says it's only a matter of time until we have an Austin Dillon situation in the championship race. Well, at least there's a precedent now, I guess.
All the Truck Series 2024. I
You're
mean,
not wrong.
that race is still like it haunts my nightmares. I still remember ranting about it in the car, like in our driveway.
That was
right
my
afterwards.
That was, I think I had like 800 people live at like 11 o'clock at night Central Time watching me bitch about a truck race.
I was on
like-
Eastern Time. It was like 1 a.m. and I'm screaming in my car about like, damn it, Carson, I want to like you.
Alex says for the 5, okay, I'll admit it. I went way overboard with the Telestrator Live. Sorry about that. All good. David says, great job announcing John and Jared on Monday night. Missed it live, but watched it yesterday. Well, we appreciate it. John, anything?
Hope you come out Thursday. That's what counts. Right there, the duels.
Tomorrow night. Yep. And then Tuesday. Eric and Danny will be in the chat, so you can ask them questions and ask them about the Canes car.
Yeah, my man.
Eric want to go
Sticker
get
for
games.
Kitty.
Twin Spinner for the 2 years says Larson and Verstappen in Baja Trophy trucks. I'd be down.
Go for it.
Fred Dog 81 for the 5 says Kyle versus Max will end like many Kyle races, him dominating but grabbing defeat from the jaws of victory. Yeah, just don't ask them to like enter pit road at Homestead and we're good.
Yeah.
NASCAR with a couple here says, hey, NWP guys and Ramus. Richmond trucks, awesome racing in Rex. Wish I could have been there instead of the Cup race. Cup in person, so boring with no Rex until the final laps with an awful finish. Well, Rex don't make a race good. They can be good,
no.
but yeah. And then says, hey, NWP guys, Iceberg. Infield access was awesome. Seeing all the Cup cars in the garage for the race. Couldn't find the merchandise outside the race track like you told me. And they might have moved it. I know they had it like across the street, like an abandoned gas station last time I was there. So I don't, yeah, it was something. But I'm glad you had fun for the most part. CM for the 5 here says, you know, I'm not going to read that, but I appreciate it. NASCARson for another one here says,
twice tonight from them.
yeah, they're trying to be funny bunnies.
I
NASCARson
hate people who try to be funny.
no, we're a serious podcast. We're only
We need to
120.
have super professional men like John Ramus.
Gotta bring a polo.
By the way,
No
we're only
polo,
100.
no take.
We're only 123 likes away from that whole 900 goal. So if you want to hit it. But NASCARson says, any of you guys been to Michigan? If so, what years? I was only there in 2010. Harvick won. Also, John, I will be at the Milwaukee truck race. I might listen to you instead of the normal race audio.
Heck yeah. I'm excited for it.
Awesome.
I was
I
in
was at Michigan in 21 and Blaney won.
I was in Michigan in 06, in 07, 11, 12, 13, and 16, and 21. And I believe, let me see if I remember it from memory, Casey Kane won in the click car, rain delay. Carl Edwards broke a winless streak, cut a dude's beard on the front stretch, backflip. 2011, Denny Hamlin won. It was only win of 2011. Dale Jr. won in 2012, one of the greatest days of my life. 2013 was Greg Biffle, beat Jimmy Johnson in a 1-1 battle, last win ever. Joey Logano won over, I believe, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. Might have been just Chase Elliott in 2016. And then, yes, Ryan Blaney won in the 550 package in 21. Did I get all those right?
I was there last year. I only saw the first 50 laps and then rain. So poop.
Great follow-up.
Mhm.
I might be at Michigan this Sunday. Depends on how the weather plays out this entire weekend.
It gonna rain.
I know.
Yeah.
So
Austin for another 2 here says, I got Lake Speed first because I'm from Mississippi. Nice.
There you go.
Bailey left 2 more here, says Riley Herbst goes back-to-back this weekend. Most feared scheme to me, the 18 NAS Xfinity car. Most feared scheme, that's the most feared scheme ever. Like, come on. I don't even
no wicker bill.
I don't even have to say it. Like, look at that. All ripped up on the side, donut on the other side. Like,
That's tough to beat.
Dale Earnhardt. I mean, the only thing I can think of, like, drivers would move out of the way just so they didn't get moved out of the way. Like, that's the most feared scheme ever. NASCARson for another 5 says, can't wait for Talladega fall 2025 or in fall of 2025. I saw Jordan Bianchi at Richmond. He says he knew about that race for months this year. I would not be surprised that he'd know that. By the way, we're only almost 100 away from 900. Damn. Alessandro for the 5 says, glad with NASCAR's decision ruling regarding the Austin Dillon drama. Also, Cosmo won't leave Eric alone tonight.
He's finally laying down half asleep, but boy, he's been grabby, just trying to grab everything on my desk.
Fred Dog for the 5 says, I'm just glad the great chicken fight last week didn't destroy the friendship between you guys. I was really worried for a while there.
Oh no, it's trashed. Don't let the show fool you. We hate each other now.
Honestly,
we're only here just like out of obligation at this point. We have nothing better to do on our Wednesday.
I signed
night.
a contract and I need money, so I can't hold out.
Yeah,
only here so I don't get fined.
Yeah.
I'm a trained YouTuber now. What am I doing here?
Movement for the 2 says, anyone going to Kansas? So I know I am for sure. We might have some others going. Not sure yet.
Maybe.
Though. I actually just heard either a really loud horn or a train, Danny.
He's out.
I don't
Run.
Find me. I don't care.
Gavin, thank you for the 25-month member chat. Any surprise round 1 exit predictions? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I could see it. Yeah, I mean, maybe Martin Truex.
Truex jumps out at me as a surprise because Ty Gibbs, I'm not sure would be a huge surprise. I would say I could see Chase Elliott, because if say he has one bad race, something happens, he finishes 30th. He's not shown the speed lately to run top 5. He's running like 8th, and I don't know if that's going to be enough to get back in because he only has that one win. I don't know if that's going to be enough. So I would say he could be on upset alert, even though there's Watkins Glen in that first round. He's probably safe.
Yeah, I think he will be safe. I don't know. All it takes is one bad race at Atlanta and then something screwy going on at the Glen. And then Bristol, I would not want my season to be on the line at Bristol.
No, of course not.
Paradox for the 5 here says, hey, note, Joey lost playoff eligibility in Richmond's race in 2017, but that win still counted.
Not towards playoffs, but yes. It was kind of the same as what happened here, I think, except there wasn't a 25-point penalty.
Richmond is really, really screwy and weird.
Maybe there does there, actually. Now I don't remember.
Ben Lewis for the 2 says, Penix, trying to say the private part. Maybe he's just a big fan of the Falcons now.
I was just trying to say Phoenix, and I forgot there was an H.
Alessandro with the 10 here. If you guys were to alter the playoff point system without going back to a full point standings, what changes would you guys make to the postseason? Fair, but also of the intensity to win. I mean, for me, I think well, if it has to be the playoff system, I think that's what he's going at. My thing is just get rid of winning you're in. I think having the best 16 drivers would make a more compelling show throughout the playoffs rather than having guys we know are never going to be a factor.
Yeah, like it's fun that Austin Cindric's in the playoffs, but like not actually.
Yeah,
it's not actually. It doesn't actually mean anything. Yeah, I would get rid of that, and I would switch the I'd make it 12 races and have the final round be 3 races.
See, I would actually have it be shorter if I was doing a schedule one. I would want it to be like, like 7 or 8. I like make it shorter and compact so people don't fall away.
No 16 drivers, 12, 10, 8 drivers at the end.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You could argue that.
Then I mean, if you do best in points with 10 too, and then you just do it as is, I think that could be better. I want to see the best of the best. I don't want to see, we got Kyle Larson, one of the best drivers in the world, challenging the F1 champ. We got Chase Elliott, a solid driver, would be the best driver in any team, but he's with Kyle Larson. We got Tyler Reddick, the most consistent guy, and then we got the Austins. It's a steep fall off there.
Daniel Suarez with his 4 top 10 finishes this year in the playoffs.
Bake the Snake for the 5 says Dillon, Leroy Jenkins, Hamlin, Logano, Rex. Everyone, wait, that's illegal.
In defense of Daniel Suarez, I think he is 16th in the regular season standing, so he'd be in either way.
He's ahead of Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
That's probably not difficult if you're just running competently this year, though.
I'm going to confirm that.
Rowdy Josh Racing for the 2. William Byron sold. Oh, my God. I almost read it, but I didn't. But thank you for the super chat. Almost.
Good catch.
This is why I read 2 words ahead now.
I don't know what you were almost going to say, but probably a good catch.
I'll let you guys know later. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not going to read the other one either. But I appreciate
Gosh,
that.
what is with y'all tonight?
You get more people, you get more money.
Tensions are high this week.
We'll say that. Bailey, so far the last one here says for 5. What's one small rule you miss? I'll start 5 bonus points for leading a lap.
Yeah, I wish there was still 1 bonus point for leading a lap. I do wish that was still a thing.
That's a good one. I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's a lot of different rules, but small rules. Personally, especially now that you have so much wave around rules, I think it'd be fine if you got rid of the lucky dog, because there's so many opportunities to get back on the lead lap nowadays that I feel like the need for it is past, because you also fixed one of the bigger problems from before.
I get that. I don't mind having it because it does still create some interesting things to follow mid-pack. I don't know that I would change it, but you're right that it's not as necessary as it once was with stages.
Yeah, I saw NASCAR like a couple years ago being like, this is the most amount of lead lap finishers we've had in a season after last year was, or something like that. It's like, maybe late 2010s, early 2020s. I'm like, well, yeah.
That's a good point.
You let more people on the lead lap now. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that at the time.
Like, of course there's going to be more people finishing there. You hand it out like candy. But, would you count no yellow line rule as a small rule or a big one? Because I feel like that's a really big one.
That's a massive rule. That completely changed the dynamic of super speedway racing.
But I wouldn't get rid of it necessarily. I
would. There's no data to show that it actually made things safer.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
And I appreciate that super chat from Just a Corvette guy. Says, makes a joke about Freddie Fazbear. Doesn't read it. Imagine. Anything that might be over the line, I'm not going to go overboard and read it. I'm just saying now.
We do have to be careful here.
Yeah.
We are on the internet.
We're on YouTube.
The internet is forever.
Big Brother is always watching us.
We're on YouTube. It's hard to be unproblematic on YouTube, as the world has been finding out over the last few months.
Yeah. I planted 500 trees here in Missouri. Ignore the other stuff in the background. Nice little Meat Canyon video. I actually watched that today, and it was like kind of scary how relevant it was. But anyway, I'm just stalling at this point. Thank you guys for coming on in tonight. Thank you, John, for coming on the show. And now you're going to have to deal with me yapping next to you for Thursday and Tuesday. But
work has already been started during the super chat segment. I'm getting ready for tomorrow.
See, I was like, either John is working or he's sleeping. Either way.
Oh no, a lot of things. It takes hours to prepare for duels. So
yeah. And much respect to you for it. So be sure to watch John's channel. The @IDK player down below will lead you right to his channel. Be sure to subscribe. I'll be there. John and I will be in the booth. Eric and Danny will be in the chat, especially for the main event for sure. But yeah, guys, what a fun show. What a fun week. What a long show for such a slow news week. And wow. Whew. I'm sorry, it's hot in here, man. I turned the AC off, so it's like 80 in here.
Why would you do that? What the?
Because
we have the technology, Jarrett.
It messes with my mic. I need everything in a.
I think that's in your head. I think I've heard your mic. That thing is compressed. There's no way that your air conditioning is making that.
And
big
it was
difference.
Chirping this past week too.
So that was not the air conditioning.
I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm not gonna mess with it.
God.
But thank you everybody for watching.
The paint is going to peel behind him.
Thank you, Bobby Blair, for saying for the 5, saying, where do y'all see Austin Dillon in the next 3 years? I think he's a part-time driver with a competition role at RCR. Ooh. It could happen. That's similar to a prediction Danny made.
I think he'll still be there then for the next year or two, but one day maybe.
But that's going to do it, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on out. We will see you next week. Where's it at? On Danny B's channel. August 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Day after the NWP 400. Big week Big speed week coming up. So thank you guys for coming out, and we will see you later. Bye.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Wouldn't want to be ya.
Drivers!